You're really quiet. Let me turn you up.
Oh, you know what? My mic was actually muted. Don't touch it.
Oh,
It was
that happened
basically
again.
muted. Yeah. All right, I'm going live literally right now.
Okay.
What's up,
I gotta do
Simon?
my
How's
cool
the stream?
intro.
Yeah, stream's good. The stream's still going, but no one's been talking for a while. Because been playing Battle Bit. It's
Yeah.
good fun. It's good fun.
All right, welcome to Ashes of Creation, Voices of Verra, episode 3, featuring Is There No One Else? Don't mind Saul, man. He's in our chat for some reason. I don't know who invited him, but yeah.
Yeah, that's just me. I have feelings.
I thought we both invited you. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Oh. I see. So, what's this podcast about?
A game that's not out yet, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sounds
Yeah.
good. All right. Let me.
Me and else roleplay that we're playing it right now, basically.
Let me just end my stream then. 2 seconds. Let me go on deafen.
So what I can do, Sawman, if you want to pull it up and take a peek, is we have a thread where we've been sharing different things to kind of look through and talk about on stream, and I could just copy paste that over into this group chat, and so you can
You can pull it up in my Discord.
Oh, is he added to this?
Yeah, he should be able to see it.
Okay, there we go. Raid has been done.
Oh. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Act surprised, like you didn't know it was going to happen.
Game comes out in 2045. Wouldn't that be great?
And so
He's optimistic. Not playing.
Thank you for the raid, Sawman. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, as Nice said earlier, this is episode 3, where we're just covering Ashes weekly as we get to it, and yeah, there's been a lot to talk about, so it's been pretty cool. So, had a lot of fun doing these.
All right, and if you're watching this at a later date, feel free to skip ahead about 2 minutes or so, and then I think we should be ready to go. I'll go ahead and get the stream posted in Discord.
But if you don't skip ahead, here's a little secret. Nice actually smells like old pennies. There you go.
Wow.
It's Pennies by Calvin Klein, if you're going to say it, you know. Get it right.
There we go. Well, yeah, Sawman, did you watch the
The cleric video, yeah, it was great. An hour long, watched it all. It was very intriguing. The way they helped the Minotaurs to fight the goblins to get the key was really very good.
I'm surprised you picked that up.
I mean, yeah, I just soak in the lore. I love lore,
That's what I've always known about you, is you're just a lore guy. So
AC, welcome on in. Here, let's get everything going.
Let me make a quick thumbnail for Nice.
All right. We are good to go. We can probably kill the music here.
I still need a Wii.
There we
Not
go.
that it's important. It's fine. It's fine.
All right. Voices of Verra, episode 3. All right, let's go. Welcome on in, everyone. Welcome on in. So let me get our chat pulled up where we so if you guys are new, this is your first episode. If you're watching at a later date, we pretty much just throughout the week try to compile various whether it's a Reddit post, Discord messages, or just random topics that we come across, videos, anything like that. We try to find something like that, and then we just put them in a chat together and react to them live here on stream, have some discussions, debates maybe, and stuff like that. And yeah. Some of them, like when else post a link, I typically don't even look at it because I want to be genuinely surprised. Yeah.
I do the same thing.
Obviously you see the title, you see the title, but you never know what's coming. He kind of blindsided me last week. What did that guy? Oh yeah, Ash is a PvE game. That one caught me off guard. So yeah, sometimes we got some really cool takes that we find, and yeah. Let me. I cannot find it for some reason. Where is it at? There it is. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the first one here. Perfect.
So, how was your guys' weekend? Well, Nice gets that ready.
Honest. Or the nice version.
Well, let's be honest. Let's be honest.
I did spend an awful lot of time editing a video on Star Wars Galaxy, which was really, really good fun. However, the views do not match the effort I put into it. So,
Did you
good old
have,
YouTube?
Did you have more fun playing the game or more fun editing the video?
playing the game for sure.
Okay.
Because the thing is, when you play like these old MMOs, you kind of want to make sure you get all your facts straight.
Sure.
Especially one as old as like Star Wars Galaxy, which is like 20 years old. Like you don't want to say the wrong thing and look stupid because that's 20 years worth of lore people are going to dump on your ass.
Sure.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Let's see. Oh, this is the one I posted. Okay, yeah. All right, we're gonna discuss this. Yeah, the Reddit post. The Freehold dev stream exposed the worst kind of player. I haven't read this. I think I posted this a little bit right after our previous podcast is when I found this. So for context, this was posted 15 days ago. And this is in reference to the Freehold stream. So that's not this recent one that we just seen with the cleric, but the big one last month, which was Freeholds. And obviously a lot of topics of discussion came out of that. I'll go ahead and read what this poster said. And obviously, as a caveat, if you will, this is all, not in ill will. It's just if we disagree, we're not like bashing the poster. Obviously, don't want you to send hate towards them. This is just a matter of opinion, of course, and just discussion, which is pretty much all we have until Alpha 2 is knowledge, discussion, and debate. So with that out the way, let's go ahead and read this. When the Freehold stream was finished, most of the people were very positive about it. Many of the features shown looked great, and it was something a lot of people were excited to experience. Some people, however, was confused as to how freeholds being resellable, a highest bid wins, auction for gold, and limited much more than the previously mentioned ample amount indicated. There were many dedicated fans, read people with over 100K posts on the official Discord.
I wonder who he's talking about.
Yeah, I wonder. Who didn't see a problem with this and collectively laughed at anyone who mentioned how this system would be abused, how it goes against the intent of the system of guild points, small guilds and large guilds both having trade-offs that made each viable, or even the insane bottleneck it would create for processors once freeholds become the realm of groups of 50 to 100 plus people group bidding. All these people did was say things like, just work harder. Hey, that sounds like me. Is he talking about me? Anyways,
Thank you so
all
much,
these people did was say things like, just work harder. Freeholds aren't for everybody. Or you're going to be handed everything. Or you're not going to be handed everything in this game. Things that don't address the actual issue. So I'm going to take a slight pause right here. So he's basically going at people that says, the common narrative, I'll say, has been freeholds aren't for everybody. Everyone's not going to get it. The normal, everyone doesn't get a trophy, risk versus reward thing, which to me is a core philosophy of the game that Steve has constantly preached. So just, I think that's a fair response to people complaining about freeholds. Not saying if you complain about freeholds, you're wrong, because, there is a lot of stuff to discuss, a lot of things that could change, a lot of change people want to see. But I think you can go about that without bashing the core, I guess, principles of Ashes, in my opinion.
Sure.
He then goes on to say, then a few days later, Steven comes out with the definitely pre-existent and not a reaction to the feedback, additional information about freeholds. Also having a bound currency auction along with gold that will allow for players across a wider breadth of specialties to vie for these limited estates. So to kind of, stop here real quick. What he's saying is after the freehold stream, Steven came in the Discord and he clarified a lot of things, like, just in Discord, like saying, oh, you need to be level 50 and we're going to have this kind of system. It's not going to be gold. Some nodes or some freeholds may be done with like an honor system, a rep system, if you will. So he's saying that these weren't already in play and that Steven basically backtracked or panicked after seeing the feedback, is what this guy is alluding to. He then goes on to say, this being a clear indication that the previously thought only gold bidding of freeholds is a ridiculous notion that Intrepid and Steven agrees would create an extremely unhealthy server. And exposing these people hilariously as either yes men who have no ability to critically think and provide valuable feedback going along with whatever Intrepid posts it's as BS by the sheer fact that Steven is the one saying it, or as people who have no opinion whatsoever and just enjoy going against the grain and being contrarian, which is just a very sad life. I'm sorry I keep stopping, but he has a lot here. He's basically saying that people were being yes men and that Intrepid and Steven agreed that this would create an extremely unhealthy server. So basically what this guy is saying is that after community feedback, Steven and Intrepid decided to change their whole thing. Like, oh, you guys are right. I think this is going to create an unhealthy server. That's what this guy is alluding to. Like, they didn't have this understanding before. He then states lastly his opinion. He says, my opinion. I'm sure Intrepid discussed favors / honor / etc. bound currencies being involved with purchase and freeholds, but there must have been a reason why it wasn't mentioned at all during the freehold stream. And whatever that reason was became exceedingly inconsequential once they heard the feedback. So I encourage people to continue to give their feedback regardless of the yes men or the weirdo contrarians on the forum / Discord who spent all day there. They don't have anything valuable to say. That's why they get so angry when others do. Also, I want to point out that my freehold video, you can check my pinned comment. I literally suggested a honor system as an alternative. So just throwing that out there. But I did think that the freehold system as is wasn't the worst thing in the world. There's a lot. That's why I stopped there a couple times. There's a lot to break down. Else, is there something specifically you want to tackle about this or agree with this or whatever you want to do before I go on a escapade?
Yeah, so my comment will be Steven comes out with a definitely pre-existing and not a reaction to the feedback. Here, we're all content creators here. We all make videos. How many times have you guys recorded a video going over a build or going over something and it felt good to do the first time, but you messed up a few parts or you said a few parts wrong and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to scrap it and I'm going to redo it again, like the whole thing again, because it just like the flow didn't feel right. So you re-record and you miss an important thing to talk about. And like you nailed it in the first one, but you missed it in the second one. Because that happens to me quite a bit where it's like, I brought it up multiple times, but this time I didn't. I think I don't think that this is one of those things that, and he even says it later on, I don't think anything Steven says is off the cuff. I think that they think about these things pretty in depth. And that's my
I don't understand why people are getting so upset over the freeholds. Because am I right in thinking just how many nodes are there going to be? How many freeholds will be at a node? And what's the whole point in having the nodes in the first place? Is to like encourage conflict.
Yeah.
So they're saying like 500 people bidding on one freehold. Is that really going to happen? Because isn't the map supposed to be like this huge area?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 17 or 18 times the size of New World's map?
Yeah.
Okay. And how many people do you think there'll be on a server? So let's say New World's got 3,000 people per server. They think 500 people will go bid on one house. Like the math just doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I think Els hit it on the head there. I think that you sometimes just forget to mention things. They had that pre-existing slideshow before they showed the gameplay. But there's still things like El said that in editing, you're still going to miss something to mention. Freeholds is a very large system. Don't be surprised next month when they showcase nodes that something just doesn't get clarified properly, or they forget to mention a certain thing, or a certain community concern arises that wasn't covered in the however many hours live stream or gameplay that was there. I do understand his rebellion against yes men, and I think that last sentence or so where he says continue to give feedback. I think that's true. I think you just
I
need to
agree with that.
continue to give feedback. You never know what you can change. You never know what your feedback can do. That's the whole point of their open development. That's the whole point of their forum discussions. That's the whole point of their developer discussions. The whole point of their office meetings is so that players can have feedback on this game that's in development. No, that doesn't mean every suggestion you make is gonna, just be changed just because, you said it. They have their core principles that they want to stick to. But at the same time, understand that that is the point of open development. But to be so, I guess, I don't want to say full of yourself, but to be so headstrong to think that the developers didn't already factor in their own systems to think like, oh, this can be abused, this can be abused, and like to think that they went in their office and said, oh, these guys are pissed. Let's just change our whole thing.
Yeah.
To to feel that undeniably this is what happened. I think that's probably going a little too far.
Let me branch just a little bit further on just really quickly. Do we think so this year we've had the tank reveal, we've had the mage reveal, and we've had combat with was a Cyclops or whatever as far as like different showcases so far. Do you guys think that the tank reveal is all encompassing of everything that will involve the tank? Yes or no?
Oh no.
No, because they haven't even decided on a block yet, have they?
Exactly. Do you think the mage is all encompassing?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So the thing is like we're in pre-alpha 2. It's very possible that they just have not finalized exactly how the expenditures for freeholds are. Just because they didn't cover every single detail, people are looking at these sorts of things as a loophole. I do completely agree that you should provide feedback regardless, whether you agree or disagree with me, Nice, Sawman, whatever. Like you should provide your opinion, your input, and a good point of view towards it. But I don't think this is like them caving and saying, "Oh, like we didn't think about this." It seems like they probably already thought about this. So,
given what they've listed as their inspirations for Ashes of Creation, there's a lot of people who don't realize how much thought they've actually put into it. Like, I think I'm through 2 of the 5 games they've listed, and even just from those 2 games, I've seen quite a lot. So anyone who's played, I can't remember what the games were. I have to check the wiki, but it's like Lineage 2, Star Wars Galaxy, Arcade. There's another one. God damn it! Oh. Just everyone pause the stream. I'll come back with an answer.
Pause. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
EVE Online, Arcade, Star Wars Galaxy, Lineage 2. I think there's more, but
And he is right. There are plenty of yes men. I do agree with that. Anytime you develop a fan base, clearly there's a YouTube content creator out there with underwear with Stephen Shreef's face on it. So clearly he's developed like a rabid following. And so, yes, you're going to have just fans of whatever he says. And, people, not everybody can think about every in-depth point of view. And so, yeah, they're going to agree with his point of view right away. And so, yeah, you got to provide your perspective.
Yeah, I do like the variety of content creators that they have out there at the minute, because not everyone agrees with each other, and that's perfect, because you don't want everyone to agree with each other.
Yes.
Yep, I completely agree. I disagree.
BM in chat says, are people going to be mad if they talk about nodes differently during beta testing? That's just silly. Yeah, and that's something, I don't know how many times they got to say in the video, I got to say in the video, or in the stream. It's a work in progress. Things are going to change. People were so upset when freeholds were different than when they talked about them maybe 6 years ago, 5 years ago. And it's hard for people. Open development's not for everybody. Like, it's just not. It's just really not. You get attached to something, you build this wealth of knowledge on something, and so when you see it change, people don't like change. I think I could actually simplify everything I was about to say by just saying that. People don't like change.
Yeah,
but you gotta understand, change is scary. And
I get it.
People just Change is scary, and people are just gonna grow so attached and hold on to every whim, especially for a game that you haven't played yet. So when a
It's
developer tells you it's gonna be this way, and then they change that, you feel betrayed. But I mean, it's supposed to grow. Things are supposed to change. This is most things are just a placeholder, and I'm so sure that when we see nodes next month, there's gonna be something drastic that change, hopefully for the better, and people are gonna lose it.
100%.
but this is the problem with Kickstarters though, because once people start investing in the game more than the typical, 60, $70,
Oh yeah.
they feel they have a say in the game. And it also works on the other end because then developers go, oh, hang on, these guys are paying money. We don't want to upset our customers. We'll gas it the way that they want it. And it just ends up being like a cluster. Can I say fuck? I'm going to say fuck.
Yeah,
A
go ahead.
cluster fuck. Demonetize. Sorry.
Instantly.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. I do like how they stick to their guns on things, and there's no need to change anything that they've thought of until we test it first. So, but yeah, things will 100% change after Alpha 2, and some things will change after Beta, and we'll be having these same discussions when that happens also. So,
Yeah. So in short, with this one, I think yes, continue to give your thoughts, your feelings, opinions on things. Just don't be. My reaction to that is, don't be so full of yourself that you think that community outrage is what forced the change. Like they just on the fly hopped in Discord, like, hey, people don't like this. How about we go ahead and just change it to this? Like I think to think something like that is like a little bit of a stretch in my opinion. But yeah, we'll move on to the next one.
combat and
Combat
class.
and class feedback. Yeah, I don't remember this one, so I'm actually surprised at myself. Oh yeah, so this one's from Solverin. Here, let me he actually DM'd me this. It's a post that he wrote, and I thought it'll be something good to discuss. I'll read this one.
Sure.
Uh, Solverin. So he says, with the direction of classes starting to take shape, I think there is a level of importance to see how the class kits are going to act across this hybrid system. So, as we all know, 64 classes, 8 archetypes. You can choose a secondary archetype, so 64 classes. So that's what he's referring to there. He says tab abilities and action abilities are coded and calculate differently across 3D space. While it's nice to see what the mostly tab portion of the game is going to look like, I have a hard time seeing the vision for the action portion. It seems like the action portion of what is supposed to look like either doesn't exist or may become secondary. I'm a highlight that right there. That's gonna be the main part there, I bet. If anyone has ever played Guild Wars 2, they would know that it's a tab target game with a reticle toggle added later to mimic the feel of action combat. It's still tab with the illusion of a hybrid system. If I were to take the cleric showcase now and do a side-by-side comparison to action games such as Terra, Darkfall, Unholy Wars, Conqueror's Blade, Valheim, and look at the abilities and see if they behave and interact in the same way, I can easily say those abilities don't really behave, nor are they coded the same way as abilities in the titles I've listed. It would be really grand to see the comparisons and the breakdowns in a live stream to see how one ability changes in a hybrid system. The real guts, gears, and ratios of the abilities, the calculations, and science behind it would make for a really cool live stream. So this is a bomb drop. I thought this one was interesting because there's a lot of talk behind tab target versus action target, which is
Sure.
better, hybrid combat. Is it truly hybrid combat? Are we even seeing the hybrid elements? Are we seeing the action elements? So I want to focus on the main thing because it feels like he's hinting at there's like a tab target. It's a tab target game, just like Arcade. Wow. But it's giving us the facade. Like it's just mass. It's like because action combat is a catchy. I'm hearing an echo by the way. Action combat is a just a catchphrase just to draw you in, and it's not really action combat. So, you know what? I'm actually glad he mentioned Guild Wars 2. So, anyone that's played Guild Wars 2, is aware of this hybrid system. It's the most common comparison that you can use for Ashes of Creation's targeting is Guild Wars 2 action camera mode or whatever it was called. I played a little bit of Guild Wars 2, and when I watched the Ranger showcase, because I played a Ranger in Guild Wars 2, and actually I forget the name of the class now, but it was the Warrior. I think I was allowed to have the bow and the greatsword. Anyways, when I watched that I shouldn't say Ranger showcase, the ranged weapon showcase, when I watched that showcase, I literally thought I was watching Guild Wars 2 combat. Like when I say it mimicked it perfectly, it was almost perfectly. The way the aiming took place, and they did a good job, I felt, of showing it in both the melee weapon showcase and the ranged weapon showcase. I wouldn't say it's a mimic of action combat. Well, you know what? I'll say this. Hybrid combat is actually tab target combat with the imitation or feel and flow of action combat. Being able to, yes, you move your camera, but wherever your camera, that cursor is aiming at, that's what you're going to tab to. But the ability to use your mouse to rotate your camera is the action combat basis in a loose sense. I'm gonna go more in detail with that, but I will sit here and rant for another 5 minutes, and I'll actually start pulling up the video examples of what I want to say while else is talking. But in my opinion, I would say he's right, but I would like to highlight and showcase a couple of examples on why I do feel there is a lot of elements of true action combat.
Well, why don't we ask the question first? Like, I think this will put everyone in the right frame of mind. Would you prefer tab targeting or action combat?
Oh, definitely action combat.
I'd prefer
Personally.
action. I'd prefer action combat, but I'm okay with either.
Yeah.
Okay. When was the last time you guys on tab targeting?
Guild Wars 2. I guess the most recent thing. I think I played that arcade with you. That was
I
I
played
haven't played
arcades
Guild
for
Wars 2
40
since,
minutes.
so yeah. Yeah. And then Guild Wars 2. But Guild
So I
Wars
think-
2, I used the action camera mode, so
Because the biggest issue you have is that World of Warcraft is tab targeting, and it's the most
Mhm.
popular MMO that's out there. So naturally, a lot of people are going to be, like drawn towards tab targeting more.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Uh,
I kind of covered that in my video today, talking about because they have different, more powerful abilities on cooldown. They have AoE directed heals, the conal heals, and they also have ground based heals you can put in areas, and they also have different spammables. And so, I mean, I guess I don't know the pure definition of tab targeting combat versus action combat, but action combat to me, I don't think it's just about cameras. I think it's also about actionable abilities that you can use. And maybe I'm wrong. You could tell me if I'm wrong here, because I guess I don't know. But I thought it was the combination of both. Like, does
Well,
that make
tab
sense?
targeting to me is just literally hitting. The reason it's called tab targeting is because you hit and tab, right?
Sure.
That's where
Yeah.
it comes from. But it works well when you don't have too much on screen. But I can't imagine it working too well on Ashes of Creation when it's like a big Zerg. I don't know
Yeah.
how it works in like big PvP events because you'll be there like tabbing through every enemy, and there are ways to make it so like tabs to like the closest target or the furthest away, or the one with the lowest health. There are ways you can like configure your tabs, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of it in that sense, but I do like it for the slow paced, easy sort of MMOs
Yeah.
where you're just chilling out.
Yeah, especially if you're ranged. He said, Jeff said, my guess is that action combat in AOC will mainly be skill shots with abilities. BM says, I have zero problems with AOC combat. If AOC combat works exactly like Guild Wars 2, hybrid is just tab targeting with a more responsive camera. Exactly. So, I did a very, very detailed breakdown of this in my Ashes of Creation combat guide, which is like if you go to my channel, it's the main one that's going to display. I broke this down because I kept seeing this in Discord and forums, and people are so confused with Ashes of Creation's targeting system. I don't know how many times I talk about these two showcases. I think they were literally back to back, like a month apart. The melee weapon showcase, which I have pulled up here on my stream right now, and the range weapon showcase, literally explain Ashes of Creation's combat in such a simple way. And I maybe because it was a long time ago, people have forgotten, but It's so easily explained. So if we look on screen, you see the red reticle under this NPC. He's tabbed to that person. But what this showcase does a good job of is showing I would call a pure action combat scenario where he is just let's say free aiming. You see even more so with the dual wield portion, and I'm gonna skip through here. Oh, actually, I don't even gotta skip that far because this next fight. So here, let's go back to the reticle. It's so simple. So you see how he's locked to him. He's moving, takes out this mob. Now watch what he does with this next group of NPCs. Watch this next fight. You see he has trouble aiming in action mode. This is all free movement. It really helps when he does this whirlwind attack right here. He's not tabbed to anything. He's doing a combo string. Ashes of Creation doesn't have light attacks, heavy attacks. He has a combo string, which I detailed is essentially think about New World or what Guild Wars 2 has if you hit a target, whereas Ashes of Creation got more of the New World feel where you don't need to hit a target, but you have a weapon combo string. I'm going to see if I can get lucky and skip ahead to where he has the dual wield. Yes, here we go. This is the perfect part that I jumped to. So you'll see here in a second. This is all, you see he's not even tabbed and locked to him. This is all freedom of movement. He can just aim in a certain direction, turn his camera, etc., etc. I can show a good example. Yeah, Guild Wars 2 had an active dodge, yes. I could show a good example in the ranged weapon showcase, but that one's kind of simpler to understand where you aim in a certain direction and it's just gonna lock to that target. But yeah, I think anyone that's having trouble grasping that needs to watch the melee weapon showcase in detail. I think it does a really, really good job. As I don't think it's a facade. I don't want. I'm trying to do this without pulling up my own video, but it's the only way I can find the clip easier. There's a part in the first tank showcase. Now, remember, they did 2 takes of the tank showcase because the first one wasn't very well received. So they re-recorded the tank showcase. And the very first tank showcase, there's a clip where I forgot which combat dev it was actually. Was it Trent? I don't know. One of them basically responded to this exact question. Like people are confused. I gotta find it. I tell you what. Else, if you got any quick input, I'm gonna try to find that clip. I'm gonna try to find that clip actually.
Sure.
Because I think it perfectly says it.
Yeah. So, do you? I'll ask you, Salman. He says here at the end, it would be really grand to see the comparison and breakdowns in a live stream to see how one ability changes in the hybrid system. The real guts, gears, and ratios of the abilities, the calculations and science behind it would make for a really cool live stream. Do you think this discussion that we're having would warrant an entire live stream?
Depends how simple to make the system, right? If
Yeah.
they do make it like Guild Wars, it's literally you choose between the two and away you go. You don't really notice the difference. I mean, I remember them having a conversation about the Ranger because people were scared they're going to make it like New World where you had
Yeah.
to actually aim to shoot.
Yep.
And the relief people had when it was like tab targeting. And I get that because, do you know what? As much as I love New World, I hate the fact that some days it feels like Call of Duty, you know?
Yeah, your aim is like really really sensitive.
I mean,
Like,
maybe
it really matters.
like, you know, a discussion for another day, but maybe there's like a accuracy chance the further away they are, and that's something they can implement. But I don't know. I don't want to see it just go full tab targeting because I don't think that's healthy for PvP.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's a little dated personally.
I talked about this on my video today, and I like just their ability to cycle through skills with cooldowns and skills without cooldowns, which isn't exactly what we're talking about, but it is talking about speeding up combat. And like oftentimes when you watch, I know I'm going to piss people off when I say this, but when WoW made its comeback, when they came out with classic WoW, I was like, well, I've never played this game before, maybe I should give it a shot. And I was just so bored watching the combat. And I know that's going to make people upset, but there's 2 sides of the coin for MMO players. There's people that love tab target combat and they love, you know, they come from WoW and they come from these types of games. And then there's people that like a little bit more action-based combat, like BDO, even Elder Scrolls Online, New World, these sorts of things. And I think attempting to blend both of them while providing skills that can do both, I think it allows people to venture into their comfort zone. And I do like that aspect of it. It's like, wow, if you like WoW, we do have skills and abilities that will function in the same way. If you like Guild Wars 2 or you like these sorts of things, we do have this type of combat as well, to where you're not just toggling onto every single person you attack.
Yeah, but my only concern with tab targeting is how much of a skill gap is there between people who tab target and those who do like free action combat.
Yeah.
And I think back to like Throne Liberty, and that's tab targeting. And it's so easy to the point that they added auto attack and everything else because it just becomes, I don't know, like a game of Simon Says, push the buttons in the right order. And for the most part, people get macros for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just gets like, it doesn't feel like as skillful as it should be.
Yeah. So in any game where there's an action of tab versus the hybrid camera or action, target will always be at a disadvantage. This is something I actually started a discussion in the official Ashes Discord on one day, because I was like, is it just me or someone with an auto locked, tab target? Like, are they not going to be at an advantage in combat, especially when it comes to range DPS? And I didn't see one person say the opposite. It's just common sense that tab target's going to be simpler and easier. I mean, it's it's a tough subject, because the thing is, people have preferences. I did a poll in the mmorpg Reddit, and it was pretty much 50-50 on what combat people preferred. It's just preference, and I think Ashes is going to do a good job of catering to that action combat enjoyer, which most modern games want to do. And then it's also going to cater to the traditional MMO player, which is going to be tab target.
You asked Reddit? Oh, that's a scary notion.
It was a brave journey.
What was the comments like?
Only got 7 death threats.
It was actually good. It was
Did you get banned by a mod?
Later though.
Later.
But yeah, I think I don't think Solverin, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. I don't think he's wrong. I actually want to take a look at a couple of the comments, actually. I wonder what people are responding to this with.
I just think WoW has been tab targeting for 19 years now. Other companies have always tried to copy WoW. It just seems like an easy cop out when people use tab targeting. It's not the best system, it's just the most popular one.
Yeah.
I will also say that I thought Sawman brought up a good point about tab targeting in the big battles. That would be such a pain in the ass to try and tab target in like a node war or a guild war or something like that. And so I totally get that. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to put it, because so we all play ESO and we've all played New World. ESO has like kind of aiming, where you have to kind of be looking in the direction in order to hit somebody with a bow. You don't have to aim for headshots or something like that. But you have to like be within 5 feet of them in order for it to work. So I don't know. I guess it's going to be interesting to see how the ranger targeting goes and everything. Because if you have auto tab targeting, especially with bows and stuff, it's just going to, you can see how range gets really oppressive in those situations. Like they're just always hitting. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, then you start getting into that range meta, which we discussed on the last episode, of how you balance range versus melee, especially in a tab target game or hybrid combat game. If something's going to automatically, I mean, you can add stuff like miss chance, dodge chance, whatever. But it's like, if someone's like I've said already, if there's a reticle on that person, and I mean, some of you guys in chat, like Illy, I see you in chat. He said, I play a tab target game and big battles aren't an issue. Yeah, I think once you get that right camera angle, you click through. It's just one of those things we just got to get used to.
Can we ask what the tab target game is?
Final Fantasy. I'm pretty sure
we'll leave it there then. Final Fantasy has PvP?
Yeah. A lot of people like Dark Age of Camelot. I know BM's played a lot of tab target large battles. Yeah. I'm sure it's easier than what it would seem like, but It's definitely going to be different, but overall, I would say the combat right now. Actually, I was just reading one of these comments, and the guy kind of hit it spot on with what I wanted to say earlier. I think it was the first comment, actually. He corrected himself on one part, but he's pretty right. Um, he said, "Yeah, so far the hybrid combat is looking pretty pure-blooded tab target. It sucks too that only the action skills, aside from basic attacks, seem to be ground target abilities," which he corrected himself on that later. But uh, it looks like, yeah, the melee weapon strings looks pretty action, but at the end of the day, it's tab. Whenever you want to use a skill, it's gonna be tab essentially. I don't know. It's just one of those things that's gonna get fleshed out. But I don't think we seen a better showcase between the range weapon showcase and the melee weapon showcase that really answered that, really break those down
Yeah.
for us. So that's just all we got really. But yeah, the recent cleric showcase, oh man, it was tab fest. I mean, it was healing in a tab target game, so I mean, it was just pure tab for the
There was
most
some
part.
placement with AoEs that sort of going, which wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of skill involved there, I guess.
All right. I guess we'll move to the next one. And once again, thank you everybody that's in chat. Thank you. Is there no one else? Sawman for being here. I see all you guys' comments. Keep at them. Appreciate you guys.
Yes.
We're gonna actually move to the next one. Ooh, this one's posted by Else. Let's see. And it's titled "Cast Time as a Game Mechanic is Perfect." I'll let Else take it from here.
Yeah. So we start to go, so just so you guys know, we compile these over the week to figure out different things to talk about. So if you guys come across something on the forums or Discord or whatever that you think would be interesting for us to discuss, you could feel free to tag it on YouTube or send it to us on Discord. We're in the Ashes of Creation Discord. Nice. And I also have Discord. So more things to talk about would be the better. But yeah, this one says, watching the cleric showcase and using cast time as a way to interact with an encounter is perfect. I think this concept should be applied to all classes. Usually cast time is just balance out more powerful abilities. The way the cleric was demonstrated, it was used as a way to customize existing abilities on the fly. The toolkit gets exponentially larger within this place. Definitely keep it. And so for those of you guys that didn't watch the live stream, they went through all the different skills and abilities, and a couple of skills and abilities, one of them that I can bring up now, I forget the name of it, but it's a burst heal. And so you can cast it instantly and you heal the person that you're tabbed onto for X amount. If the player is at lower health, the lower health they have, it will heal for more. It also has a modifier with the longer you hold it, you actually charge up the heal. And so you can go, like they showed, like at one point it healed for 300, and then with very low health, with a longer hold, it healed for like up to 13 to 1500, if I remember correctly. And so it was a huge magnification of the heal. And the risk, though, is you are now holding an ability, so you can't actively block. I'm assuming you can't dodge while you're holding this. And so you're opening up risk reward while also giving you a chance to have a bigger heal if you identify a situation to where you could hold this out, or if you know your tank can hold out a little bit longer for a bigger heal. So I wanted to get your guys' opinion on the thoughts with these types of interactions with skills and abilities, because I can explain mine after you guys.
I guess I can respond there. So I mean, I think it's perfect. I agree with the original poster there. I think the more powerful, and this is something I'm actually going to discuss later, so I'll not do too much, but I think the more powerful a skill is, if the way you want to balance that is by, instead of nerfing the amount that it heals, nerfing the damage that it does, if it has a drawback that it takes 3 seconds, 2 seconds to wind up, like, I think that's the perfect way to balance it. And it also gives your opponent a chance to respond, like, oh, he's charging that up, or oh, this is coming. Yeah. And then charging a skill to increase its effectiveness just makes combat feel more responsive. It makes it even more so that you feel your skills matter. And I think that's a good thing to have in a game. So I think I don't think there's a way to really go against this. I know maybe somebody in this thread or somewhere wants to argue like, oh, I want fast, super fast combat. I want to be able to animation cancel and just fire off 5 abilities, and I don't want to cast time on this and that. I think it works as a balance mechanic, so I think it's fine.
What do you think, Sawman?
I mean, it makes sense. The longer you hold down a cast, the more powerful it is. That's like the rule in any game. So no, I like the idea of it. Sounds good.
Yeah, my thoughts on it were this that I got a Insanity Defined says player agency in casting time is A+ game design. I agree. I completely agree with this. And my perspective on it is the more you give these types of modifiers for players, the more really good players can stand out in different situations, or players that just know their class better. So like, let's say you, me, like the three of us are going out, we're PvPing together. Well, the first few times we PvP together, we're not going to know how each other functions, how each other's build functions, you know, just normal growing pains of playing together, right? Well, after a month or two of doing content and PvPing and stuff, let's say I'm the healer and I notice like, hey, Nice is a lot more, his build is a lot more bulky than Sawman's build. And I know that he only has like 2 people on him and he's taking all the aggro right now. So I can take time to cast this ability to heal for more. Well, if I do that, Nice gets a bigger heal. And now I've also saved my resources to where if I have to heal Sawman and for whatever reason, like he takes a gank from stealth and it burns his resources, I know I now have action casting resources to cast onto him. And so I end up conserving in a way while also keeping the same heal output. And that's just what you're going to learn through time while playing these different classes. And so I personally think it's awesome. I think the more you can provide these modifiers on different skills and abilities, not just healing abilities, but damage dealing abilities as well. Like if Rogue has a cast time wind up heavy attack, and if you backstab somebody, it's like 50% more crit damage, or I don't know what's balanced, guys. I'm just providing an example. Like those types of modifiers, I think could make the game quite a bit more fun.
Well said. Yeah, it makes you feel responsive. Makes it feel like your skill matters. I got 2 comments here I want to read. First one from Lord Sora. He says, World of Warcraft also uses a casting time to balance range and melee as well. Earlier point regarding caster meta. So
Okay,
he's basically saying they do that in WoW or a range meta. Yeah.
sure.
Now, this comment from Jeff I like. He says, anytime there is player agency, that creates a potential skill gap. Love that. I love that statement. Short, simple, powerful.
Yep, I agree.
Anytime there is player agency, that creates anytime there is variables, that creates a skill gap, and it makes a good player feel reward. It makes a good player feel like a good player. When you're kiting and you know, like, okay, I shouldn't charge this spell fully until I get behind this line of sight of that rock, or I don't have enough time to fully charge this spell. I know how to cancel it early by just letting the ability go a little bit, sooner. Just a mage, like they showed in the mage showcase, the way they worded the shield when they were talking about that, like a mage knowing when to use that shield, because it's gonna have like a 20-second cooldown or whatever. That's gonna be really, really important. Not just preemptively casting it. It's like, okay, no, I know I'm about to have incoming damage. Now I'm gonna activate it. I'm not gonna just be on the offensive. Some guy's running from me and activate my shield. So yeah, I think that's a good. I think that's. I don't think there's too much debate there. I like that. I think everyone here agrees that that's the way you really want to go about the designing and balancing.
Yeah, I
Okay.
really like that it's attached onto already usable abilities, because the few times like there's quite a few cast time abilities in ESO, and the vast majority of them are not very good.
Yeah.
And they do have powerful effects, but because they're cast time, people don't use them because they're not powerful enough. And that, like, having the ability to turn something into a cast time on the fly, I think makes it these skills a lot more usable than just making something that way.
Okay. Sawman lost audio. He'll be right back.
Okay.
I miss him already. We lost our dog. Put up a sign. All right, so I guess we'll just move on to the next one then.
Sure.
let's see. What was the next one? Oh, okay, here we
After
go.
watching a new cleric update, I have
Nice. I don't remember. Oh yeah, this is one I didn't look at. Let's see. All right, chat. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what else pulled out. Whoa.
I'm really trying to piss off Nice here, so we're just see if we can get there.
Okay,
Let me get to the top. Welcome back, Simon.
Hi.
All right. So Lord Pax here says, the one thing that I am hoping to see in order to increase skill ceilings are interrupts. Guild Wars 1 did it best, but WoW and others have done it too. Skills where you interrupt the other's spell casting. It makes the cleric's archetype special skill that much more important and strategic. No game has ever replicated memers from Guild War 1, nor do I expect them to ever see them again. However, some of the uniqueness with interrupts, especially with the universal mana pool, is such an exciting opportunity for Ashes of Creation. Mesmer is a class I mentioned that had a cool interrupt and control options that worked around their other skills. Mind Rag, yeah. These plus other skills were strategic combos that gave control in a fight and added a different strategy for build other than weapon with the highest DPS. This post is not supposed to be a post about Guild Wars 1 Mesmers, but more about the strategic benefits of skills that are strictly designed to interrupt spellcasts. If Ashes of Creation is going to introduce a list of skills which have multi-second spellcasts, so much so that the cleric special ability reduces it, it means that there is a wonderful opportunity for Intrepid to look into these styles of skills. P.S. As a side note, I will try to remember to ask these questions during next month's live stream. So, thoughts on interrupts. Since you have the pro of casting and getting these more powerful effects, I personally think interrupts are a great idea, because if you want to try and cast and you don't choose your situation wisely, you should get punished for it. I think that pro-con interrupts cast times, I think they go hand in hand. But I wanted to get your guys' opinion too.
So I have a question.
Sure.
When you do long cast times, are you able to move at the same time, or are you rooted in the same spot?
I think it depends on the ability, because some of them they showed you can walk slowly. Some of them, like the one that I was thinking of, you can still walk, but you can't run.
Yeah, it all depends on the strength of the skill.
Yeah, I haven't got a problem with interrupts. I think that's kind of cool and pretty standard, right? I mean, we're used to it in the Elder Scrolls Online. You can do it to bosses and even like other players. So yeah, I'm all for it. But I think it's just you got to be careful with cast times as well, because if you can literally run at full speed or cast in like your best heal, it then becomes like a game of chase as opposed to an actual battle. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be some sort of punishment for like casting for longer. And if that's an interrupt, or you're slowed in, or you're rooted, I'm all for that.
Yeah, as long as there's some sort of risk involved. Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I love the idea of interrupts, and with the cleric being the healer archetype and it showing so many cast times and chargeable things, I would love to see some sort of interrupt mechanic introduced, whether that be by a core combat skill or by via certain skills that another archetype does. Yeah, or weapon type. Yeah. Interrupts cast times. I think that'll be really good for balance and strategy. You are doing a lot of DPS to a group, let's say a 4v4 PvP scenario. You see that, you guys did your big burst. You all went offensive, got a lot of people low, but you see that cleric in the background. You see their healer. You see that healer has been holding down a big burst heal, waiting for y'all to go offensive and just nuke his group. You see that happening in the background, and you interrupt that before he gets that heal off, and that leads to the detriment of his group. That can feel very rewarding. That could be very rewarding PvP combat, and I think that's something that everybody wants in combat, is to feel rewarded.
Yes.
And alluding to what Solomon said, yeah, they spoke. I'm pretty sure they spoke about it in the cleric stream after they showed the gameplay about movement and cast time. Or I could be thinking about the day and night cycle. I watched so many streams recently, but they definitely are going to balance around how powerful the skill is. That's going to determine your movement speed. Some skills are actually going to lock you into place if it's really powerful. Imagine something like a resurrection skill would have a long cast time, and you're definitely not going to be able to do that on the move. I think that's how you balance abilities, something that we're going to talk about later. So I'm all for it. I wonder if they should give that to like the rogue class. I think tank's gonna have a lot of CCs and stuns anyway, so that'll obviously interrupt skills. But something dedicated to interrupting like a certain weapon or some sort of something would be good. And then maybe that kind of leads into another conversation of should there be an interrupt immunity. You don't want something. I mean, we don't have spammable abilities per se, so you don't want to be always interrupted every cast. It should feel rewarding. Like you timed that interrupt perfectly, interrupted that cleric spell. So your interrupt spell is now on cooldown, but so is that heal you interrupted. And so you save that interrupt from when you see them casting that big damage ability, that big heal ability. I think that'd be really good.
Yeah, I think
some
Sawman
more.
brought up a really good point, where he was talking
I'm
about
on a roll, boys.
I think I think you brought up a good point discussing the difference between like possibly over nerfing casting these things, because yeah, if Intrepid is already taking into account, hey, these powerful abilities you can't move or you're moving more slowly, that is an adjustment in combat, and that could be enough of a negative penalty. I like the idea of like sorry, I like the idea of active reactive combat personally, where if you make a decision to heal for more, I should have the option to recognize it and then counter it. And so I would personally sacrifice like the loss of, like, give them the movement speed but give me the power to interrupt.
Yes. BM
On,
played a
ladies.
lot of Dark Age of Camelot, something I don't think none of us here played. I could be wrong. But he said, calling back to Dark Age of Camelot again, they also allowed you to pick PvP skills that made it to so you couldn't be interrupted for 7 to 10 seconds or so, but it was on a long timer. Yeah, I think Guild Wars 2 had something like that. I think Guild Wars 2, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but there was I know there was a skill I had on the Ranger where like basically either it helped me break a stun, and I think there was one for snares, I had one for speed. It was like they basically use skills versus core combat mechanics. So you'll see it could, and that's something I'm curious about. Well, I guess no longer curious about if they're just gonna have a simple CC break or what. But yeah, um, Panda says healers need to feel like proximity to enemies with CC heavy skills are when you utilize your bar for instance. I think healers should have to be threatened and be mindful, yeah, like of where they're at, when they're positioned, when they do that cast time. Having to think about like Steven talked about it a lot, but that was more so in relation to how much health does my ally have? Do I got time to hold this down? Am I taking too much of a risk by trying to charge this spell till its full efficiency? But I also think they should, while they're charging a spell, even if they're comfortable, they should be like, okay, am I close to an enemy that can interrupt this? Or am I close? Am I in a scenario where I could potentially be stunned soon? So maybe I need to just go ahead and get this skill off before I end up wasting my cooldown. And that's something I would like to see. If you get stunned mid-cast or mid-charge, that ability should still go away, in my opinion. That I don't know if you guys have like a counter argue or feel the opposite, but I feel like if you're charging something and it gets interrupted or you get stunned midway, pulled midway, whatever, I feel like, well, now that 20-second cooldown is still used because you pressed the skill. So I don't think you should be able to stun someone mid-charge and then they CC break it and use that same skill again. How you doing, Rage? How you doing, everybody? Welcome on in. Appreciate you guys being here, providing the feedback in the comments. Um, Anything else to add on that one, Sawman?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward, right?
Nice. Yeah, I agree. Um, so let's see. So this one was about interrupts. Else has another one, and it's titled, I find the cleric skills cluttered. This ought to be interested. Cluttered. What do you guys think he's gonna mean by cluttered? That's
Okay, I'm back. Where are you guys at?
So we haven't read it yet or anything.
Okay.
Well, except for the title. It says, "I find the cleric skills to be cluttered." I wonder what he's gonna mean by this, because I don't know if he means like there's too many skills on. Obviously, I'm saying this before I read it, but I don't know if he's gonna mean like too many skills on the action bar, because I know the developers have said at least twice now, like no normal skill bar is gonna look like this. You're gonna want to upgrade the skills you do choose. You're not gonna have 18 skills and expect to use them effectively. So, um, I'm curious to see where he's going with this. Here, let me show my webpage so you guys can see the background there. Let me zoom in a little bit on this one. Else, you want to read this one?
Sure. He says, I find this cleric skills cluttered. I think it's overly complicated. To me, any heals that function in so many similar ways that don't really define each heal spell in a way that, in my opinion, does not justify at least half of the heal skills. I don't even get some of the combos, like a skill that makes you run to point blank range of a friendly target and another skill that heals a point blank friendly target. Why are these two skills instead of just one? In my opinion, there's just too many healing skills and options. It seems cluttered. In my opinion, these skills for healing needs to be I'm going to say he means streamlined, but he said slimlined. I've played a
Yeah.
healer in many MMOs for many years. I think having one skill having options is great, but you need only a few skills: splash heal, hot, large volume heal, and a group heal. Some utilities like shields and the like. I do like the cone heal, and adding that flavor to more heals would be great. Heal and damage or heal and buff debuffs. Making the cleric more of a battle healers would be great. As is, I don't get this class so far. It doesn't have a theme or a direction of the type of healer or what the twist that makes this stand out. Just seems to be a bunch of random good ideas that don't meld together. I have a lot to say about this one. So you guys go first.
Oh.
Unless you want me to just.
No. Yeah, that caught me off guard, I'll admit. I wouldn't say it's blasphemous or anything. Like it's an interesting take though. It's an interesting take.
It's the opinion of an MMO enjoyer.
Is it weird that I really like this post? It wasn't like that other one you blindsided me with that I was just offended at. This one, I disagree with it, but I get it and I like it, if that makes sense. So he's saying the skills feel too cluttered. Too many skills seem to do the same thing. So I'm gonna admit something real quick. And I don't think if I didn't admit, someone was gonna call me on this. But while I was watching the live stream here on the channel, did a live react, and I actually said this. I actually said something to the extent of this, that, and this wasn't like what he's probably alluding to, like the whole kit. It was like there was two skills or maybe three. I was like, well, that could have just been the same skill, or like that's just literally unnecessary. And before I disagree with him, I want to say the ways that I do agree with him, and that's one of the ways. And like the ground based heal, it was an AoE heal, and I think I forgot the mechanic on that one, but there was a weird mechanic. You know, the ground based heal that they pre-place. You see the yellow glow, the yellow aura or whatever. I was like, well, why isn't that a heal over time? Why isn't that a ground based hot? What's the point of having to place this skill, and there's a delay so the ally has time to run to it in case they missed it, or you can pre-place it, and there can be strategy involved there. But I was like, why isn't that a heal over time? What is the point of that AoE heal or that one right there when you have this other heal? So I get that, but at the same time, you're not slotting all these skills, and you get to choose the one that's best for you, best for the raid that you're doing. So, and that's what kind of made me understand, like, well, okay, some of this probably needs like a little extra to it, but I still get it. And as far as the gap closer heal, I'm offended. I am offended. That is the best heal I've seen in a game. I love that heal. And then it had the iconic Phoenix sound. I really love that heal. So I think that one healed once you gap close though, right?
It was gap close and touch, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he used two skills, but I think the gap closer itself healed, and then he used the melee heal.
Oh.
Which yeah, he combined the two of them. So maybe it didn't heal, but I also, by the way, I think if it's gonna be a melee heal, it should be really powerful if that's gonna be how it's limited. But I don't think he said these skills need to be streamlined. I would say some of them could use some extra effects. I didn't have too many complaints. I like the quote unquote spamble heal option that they had. Okay, somebody just confirmed in chat it does heal. I like the I liked a lot of them, but yes, there's some changes. I'm gonna keep using the same example. I apologize, but that one heal should have been a ground-based heal. I didn't see too many ground-based hots. There was hots that went on the. There's one big one that it almost doesn't matter the proximity, but it's gonna heal everybody in your group. But the trade-off of that is it's a very small heal over time. There's another heal over time. And that's when I started to say, like, okay, these things blend together, but I get the benefit. I think they did a good job explaining why this heal exists, for the most part. There was one, hold on, I'm trying to think really, really quick. You know what, long story short, I think some of the skills could use a little bit more something to make them unique and diversify itself from the rest of the kit, but or maybe give a certain buff or debuff, like that cleansing wave. It's a cool. I don't even know if that was the name of it, but I think it was called cleansing wave. You know, the one they throw it. You know, it looks cool. It
Yeah.
looks really cool. You throw, you know, the wave and it heals people and it does damage as well. Um, Maybe if there was a debuff associated with that, like it doesn't deal much damage, it's mainly a heal, but there was a snare, you know, like stuff like that. I think they could add a little bit more. You know what? They just need to put the cherry on top with a couple of the heals to diversify it with the rest. But overall, I would say it had enough diversity. But yeah, I'll leave it there. That's my take on it.
What do you think? What do you think, Samad?
I think they were just literally just showing you what it's capable of, but not necessarily what the end product's going to look like. So I think they were just trying to show all the flashiness that they can do and like the skills that are possible. I think there's only one skill which was the same from last time that they showed like a hint of the cleric. So to me, I don't know. I think it's just as much as like they're doing the showcase for the cleric, I don't think it's anywhere near like in a finished state or polished off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely not. And once again, to reiterate, like they just crammed all those skills on the bar to show you all the current heals in the cleric's class kit. Like no one's running around with all those kind of heals. Like I said before, you're gonna slot the ones best for your situation or your build. So yeah.
Yeah, so I have a lot to say about this, and it's not directed about this person in general, because I do agree that like it can be confusing when you have too many different modifiers. Like they unloaded a lot at us, and you know, in the hour they put in, like showing the different skills. Some skills have modifiers on top of it, and they went into talking about how one skill can then boost and amplify other skills in the kit. And so there's a lot to take in there, and that I can totally understand how overwhelming that can be. But this is like a perfect example of us as ESO players. We have each class has 3 different trees that we can go into, and what is it, 6 abilities per tree, or is it 5? I can't remember. But we have all those plus an ultimate per tree, plus weapon skill lines with 5 or 6 abilities per weapon skill line on top of it. And so there's multiple different skills and abilities. And the thing is like we've played for so long, like we just know what they do. And so I do think that a lot of this confusion right away will be cleared up with just people playing. Like, okay, I have access to 20 different skills and abilities. I'm only going to use 5 or 6 at a time, whatever. And then other ones, depending on the engagement, the type of fight we're getting into, I'm going to switch some in and out based off of, you know, what we may need for this type of encounter. And I want to say that is like a month into playing the game, I don't think people are going to be confused by what these different abilities are, because we'll be playing the game. The second thing I want to say is not directed at this person. Lazy healing bugs me to no end. It really does. And I'm not saying that that's what they want. They're just like, but you see the streamline. I want this. I want this. I want this. Like the healing class can be very, very fun when done well. It can be very fun. If it becomes just a thing of activate one of 5 abilities off a cooldown, it's going to take the fun away from so many different people that actually enjoy to play this class. And I don't want that. Like I don't, that this is just my opinion. I understand how like you're used to one thing and you're like, hey, this is my MMO, like the MMO that I play. I want Ashes to be more like my MMO. My perspective is Ashes so far is not like my MMOs that I play, and I would like to keep it that way because I'm not a fan of smart healing. I'm not a fan of just a couple activations, and it makes it really easy for the healers to do things because that's just one way to really make a support class. Like it ups time to kill needlessly, in my opinion. And so
That is true.
And so my perspective is yeah, I think a lot of this will be streamlined. I think this is a good point of view that he brings forward, but you also just have to be careful that if I don't want to state like a slippery slope fallacy, but a lot of this is like the easier you make skills and abilities to use, the less overall depth the class is going to have and the less replayability it will have, in my opinion.
You know what? Let me say something here. I'm gonna admit this live. You just changed my mind. You just changed my mind.
Let's go. Changing opinions one at a time.
So you win this debate. You changed my mind. So, and here's why. I do still want skills like that ground-based heal. Like I didn't really get the point of it when you have so much AoE heals in the kit. You know, maybe it should leave a heal on the ground. But you changed my mind in that if you stack too many skills to do so much at once, it doesn't feel as rewarding. It doesn't feel as responsive. You should have to balance like, okay, I got this heal over time. I got this heal over time, but it's only single target, or this skill is just a buff, but it has no heal to it. This one's my damage shield. When you combine skills too much, or you make one skill do too much, guess what? You don't have to make sacrifices in your build anymore. And I've seen that literally ruin the game when you don't have to make sacrifices, when one person can do everything. You don't want one healer to excel where one skill is a big burst heal that's also a hot, that also gives you this buff, and you're just kind of rotating each skill off of cooldown when you have to choose what heal is best, what heal to slot, and what situation to use it in. I think that actually does make for more enjoyable gameplay. So yeah, I get that. I totally get that. I think that. I think that's good.
Do you have anything else to add, Sawman, or any other thoughts on top, or did he disappear again?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know. I just still think it's like really early days until anyone even gets onto the alpha, right? We're not going to understand what half these skills are going to look like.
I like the idea of a broad, diverse set. Like this is all theoretical, of course, but it would be fun if there was no one specific cleric build that was best in slot with skills and abilities and gear sets across all content. It'd be nice if, like, hey, I'm more of an action combat type of player. I like to use heal over times. I like to use this more than burst heals. Whereas the next person's like, fuck heal over times. Like, I want to be able to do combat, and then I'll provide burst heals as needed. I'll be more of like an in-between style player where I deal damage, I chain people down, and if you need like an oh shit heal, I got your oh shit heal. And I think having like a broad amount of skills, yes, it does make it more confusing, but it also makes the class more fun to play because we can't just like you can't switch your first archetype. You can only switch your second. And so this depth is going to be needed for longevity and replayability, in my opinion. And so that's why I want to keep it. That's just my opinion.
What do you guys think of the animations, though? They're very full on, aren't they?
Oh yeah. I like that the animations have like a sense of depth. Like and I'm mainly talking about the chargeable ones. I just like that it can be released at whatever point, and the actual character animation matches that. I think the spells, the cleric spells wasn't bad, but the mages, that ball of lightning skill, my goodness, that thing is it's a ball of lightning.
Yeah.
It's bright. But
So
man,
how's that going
it
to
looks
work in a
good.
big battle, though? Like, if you think about the server hosting all the players with all this PvP going on and all these flashy lights in Unreal Engine 5, is it going to be what's it going to be like performance-wise?
Too worried about performance, actually. I think a game releasing in 2023 won't have the issues of like 10 to 15-year-old MMOs that we're playing now. It's been a while. Like New World is New World the newest MMO? I guess like most newest mainstream MMO. Like I never have performance issues really on New World at all, honestly.
Yeah.
I think technology is getting better to support that. And the cool thing about this game is it's not going to just release. Well, some people think it's never going to release, but it's not going to just release without a lot of testing. They've done so many stress tests in the past, even Alpha 1. They've done so many network tests, and then we're going to see performance in Alpha 2. They're going to be able to know on the back end like what's going on. They're gonna have a lot of data that they're gonna document and make improvements if there are performance issues. So that's what makes me so confident is that we're gonna I'm pretty sure on Alpha 2 servers we're gonna have like probably close to server capacity. I imagine that'd be the best way to test it. Especially with as many people who signed up for Alpha 2. I imagine we're going to be testing those large scale battles. In Alpha 1, didn't they do a siege battle? I'm pretty sure they did a large siege battle, like an organized one, and like it was decently smooth.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's that clip of him giving a speech and then running out into the siege, and it is like super smooth. But
yeah,
then
and
that's also a controlled environment,
That's
right?
yeah, and that's also pre the new animations and stuff, and yeah, I think it
Hmm.
is. I think it's definitely a concern to have that will be stress tested. I did recently watch the Asmongold and Steven interview like a couple weeks ago, and his belief is through their back testing that they can do 250v 250 wars. They believe that they have it in line. They have developers from some of the biggest online games already, and they believe that with the technology we have now, that that'll be easy to do, and they think they can do 500 v 500. So yeah, you would
Right.
think. Go ahead.
There's a very famous clip of the Elder Scrolls Online
Yes,
when it was on like E3 or whatever,
yes, PlanetSide
and
2. Sorry.
Brian Wheeler was there saying you can have 250 players versus 250 players on
Yeah,
screen at the same time, and that was like 10 years ago, right?
yeah,
yeah,
So I don't know. I
promises,
mean,
promises.
New World, I know it can have large players on the screen, but at the beginning of New World on the launch, it did get very buggy and stuff. And
yes.
the fix was, I mean, you see it now, like the graphics just reduced to like minimal, like all the grass disappears, all the trees disappear, and that's how they get around it. So I don't know. I'm just interested to see how it all like blends together, I guess.
Yeah, something I just remembered, you guys. They actually spoke on the fact that in your settings, and this is something we've seen in other games, you can actually adjust your settings to hide animations. So
So they
like
are
you don't
going to go
have
that
to
route.
see yes, so
Okay.
you don't have to see your ally animations. And I hate to keep using ESO as an example, but obviously we're all ESO players. So like you'll notice that you don't see your allies' dark convergence. You know, it's a set that pulls all enemies to one area. You see the enemies can get yanked, but you don't see that animation playing on the ground. And Ashes of Creation is gonna take that route. I don't know if it's gonna. I'm pretty sure you're gonna have to opt out. Who knows how it's gonna be? But let's say by default it's showing, but you have the option to opt out of that, so your game, has a little bit better performance. So um, don't quote me on this. I'd have to double check with the wiki, but I feel like I read on the wiki somewhere that for like really large scale battles, they were really thinking about going like you can have like pretty much bare player models so that it's not loading all cosmetics and stuff like that. Don't quote me on that. That's just something I know I read that somewhere, or maybe it was just a discussion talking about it. But yeah, long story short, we're gonna be able to minimize animations and stuff like that. And of course, you're gonna get your normal modern game thing like lower shadows, grass texture, blah blah blah. So I think all that combined with us being in 2023, I'm pretty sure by 2042 when we're doing those bars now,
The
I'm playing.
VR actual creation.
No, I'm playing, but I'm pretty sure we'll be fine by then.
Yeah. Fun fact though, New World, people always criticize the character customization, saying it's like really bland and boring.
Hmm.
Um, I think there's two reasons for it. One was the size of the hitbox to make it all the same for everyone on the game, and two, performance because you haven't got as much to load in. And if you see the character creation on Ash the Creation, It is very in depth. It's on. If you did
Yes.
Dark Age, you remember how fun that was. I think it's on that level plus plus.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is coming from the MMO that we come from. Performance is obviously going to be a big deal, and hopefully it truly gets stress tested because, yeah, we know new flashy animations, things going off quite a bit, bogs down the server on the game, on some MMOs, and performance will kill big battles. Like if you don't have good performance where people are enjoying these big battles, this game will not succeed for that reason. Like people aren't going to play it regardless of how good it is, and so. Yeah, I really hope that gets stress tested, and I really hope that they're extremely flexible in the worst case scenario where 250 v 250 doesn't work. They're just like, you know what, performance is more important. We'll drop down to 100 if we have to. We'll do like performance is paramount to what we're trying to do. So
yeah. I actually love seeing downgrades in that sense. Like I remember a company telling me like, hey, it's not gonna be as large scale and grand as we initially promised. We're gonna have to take 50 to 100 people out of the Guild Wars setup, arena, whatever. But the game's gonna work, and I think no one's gonna rage at that. I don't think no one's gonna. Well, no, who am I kidding? Yes, they will. But
no, yeah,
I think we're all sad. I think when it comes to performance, if a company says we got to make a sacrifice in this department, I think we're all fine with that. Taking a quick pause here once again to thank everyone for being here in chat. Everyone that liked the stream. Saw man, thank you. Is there no one else? If you guys ever want to, if you guys get tired of staring at this freaking face in the bottom right corner, Else does stream on Twitch. You can find that information on his channel, whatever. His YouTube is obviously linked in the title. Sawman's also linked in the title. Make sure you sub to him. Please help the guy. He's only got 20K subs, so his opinion can finally matter one day.
And also, this stream is sponsored by Raid Shadow.
It is.
You're not gonna like
it's
performance, but you know what you will like. No, all right. So I got the next topic actually pulled up here. Here, let's see. So Else has one posted here. Moving on to the next one. Oh, thank you. A hope and a prayer in chat says enjoying the stream. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks
Thank you
guys.
for being
Thanks
here,
for tuning
dude.
in.
Appreciate you guys. So this one's titled PVX Caravan Question from the live stream. Oh, this was just posted yesterday.
Yeah. So we watched it. I didn't catch this part, so I thought this would be fun to talk about. So he said, I was very pleased with the cleric live stream. I have played a healer a lot in other games, and the cleric kit appears to be fun and well thought out. I like the ally gap closer, going to be very useful in PvP, I think. I think so too.
I like this guy.
One of the things that really struck me during the live stream was just a comment when they were talking about the new area, which used to be a bandit camp. Highwayman Hills. There was an offhand comment about how this area was, quote, notorious for bandit activity and how it was always dangerous to bring a caravan through the area. I've always thought of and only seen reference to, as far as I can remember, caravans being PvP events. This comment makes me start to understand what is truly meant by PVX, or at least what I hope it means. Did anyone else hear it? Am I late to this party? Is it even true? Will a caravan be attacked by PvE as well as the potential for PvP? My quick review of the wiki revealed no clues, but it is so extensive it is easy to miss things, at least for me. I would really like to think that the camp which calls PVX a car salesman term is wrong and that this is the beginning of understanding what PVX really means. Thoughts?
Oh, I like that. I heard that. Yeah, I definitely heard that. So he's making me think of it in a new light now, but I'll tell you how I did hear that, and here's what I thought is that simply because they start the stream and they go through this narrow, I'll actually pull it up as I'm talking. They go through this narrow passageway, and I took it as he's just saying that, it's a shadowy area, very narrow. It's an easy ambush spot. Yeah, I found this exact spot now. So the way I interpreted that as is, yeah, there could be players stealthed out hiding in the bushes. You don't see their nameplates. They know your caravan has to come through this area. It's like a popular trade route between node A and node B. And so they will just have a advantageous situation where either A, they jump out of those bushes that you see there on the side, or maybe a ranged character at the top of that hill may actually still be in range to cast some abilities to fire down below. But now he has me thinking that, yeah, caravans could actually be a big PVX thing. And I never ever looked at caravans in that light. And this interests me because if this alleyway, if the Minotaurs don't take over this area, if you don't do that story arc, if this alleyway that I'm looking at right now is filled with bandits, right, on the side, I'm assuming you have to be within a certain vicinity. I haven't looked at the wiki for caravans in a while, but I'm assuming you got to be within a certain vicinity of said caravan, especially if it's your caravan that you're leading, in order to make that caravan progress forward. Now, what if that caravan's going through an area with NPCs? Those NPCs will attack you. And so that in itself is a threat. Now, I'm not sure, nor do I think the NPCs will attack the caravan itself. The caravan does have hit points, but I don't imagine the caravan being like arrowed by NPCs. Although, if that's the case, that would be cool and intrepid. If you somehow see this, I would love an answer on that. But even if they don't attack the caravan directly, if just NPCs will come, well, they obviously come and attack the player, but that's something I never thought about. Could you imagine like being on a caravan run and you're going through, and then you just happen to cross paths with Tumok from the Mage stream, and it's just it's just a shit show, and also there's PvP players coming to get this mayoral caravan, like that sounds fun to me, and I never looked at it in that light before. That is cool.
It's PVX, right? I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah, that was my perspective, because I didn't think, I was just like you, Nice, where I didn't really put two and two together for PVE ads attacking caravans. But it was brought up in the interview with Asmongold, and actually no, it might have been one of the note. I've watched way too many. I'm sorry, I don't remember which one. I'm not going to.
Same here. They're blending together.
And the point is they brought up, it was one of the node ones, and they were talking about how a node being brought up in an area, and they're like, yeah, if your engineers dig too deep, they're going to unlock a dragon, or they could unlock a dragon from like the catacombs, and this dragon will come out and attack your node, and you have to now defend your node against, you know, a boss. And so if they're gonna have PvE battles where things can attack the node, why wouldn't that apply to caravans? And so, yeah, I think this is, I think it makes a lot of sense, and it provides that incentive. Like, you have to send armed guard on your caravans. Can you imagine sending like something really expensive and you don't attach a guard to it, and it gets destroyed by like mob number 5,237, and you're just like, are you fucking kidding me, man? So
yeah,
I think that's cool.
I think it'd open it up a bit as well, because imagine like there's the PvP route and the PvE route. The PvE one has like a huge mega boss, or you can risk it against other players.
Yep.
It'd make it a lot more interesting and immersive. But also as well, like it means like people would have to be equipped for both, right? You wouldn't just be kitted out for PvP. You have to be ready to take on mobs.
Yeah, I like that.
It makes it exciting.
You're built for players. Uh-huh. I really like that. That is a very thought-provoking and interesting post. I had not literally as much as like as excited as I've been for caravans. Hell, I did a whole caravan video. As much as I've been looking forward to that system, because I feel like it's gonna be my main PvP loop.
Yep,
is escorting and or attacking caravans. I never for once fathomed that. Oh, like, you know, I'm worried about, I'm so thinking about players, like defending my caravan against players, that not for one moment did I think like, oh, NPCs on the way. So I like that. But one thing I would like an answer on is if they will attack the caravan directly, or is attacking the caravan escorter the main caravan escorter, is that more so, you know, if they die right there, is that just it, or how they're gonna approach that, or how that work is. Yeah, I'm just pretty much. I know the caravan, I think, has general health bar, so who knows?
Yeah,
Um,
I'm excited to hear more about the caravan system as well. Like my buddy Mad, Mad Hatton, who's in the stream. We're all like the same line of thought. We get actually PvP for rewards. This sounds
yeah.
awesome. And so yes, I will be. I apologize in advance. I will be raiding caravans thoroughly, or at least attempting to. And
Yes.
that will be my thing for the vast majority of my PvP. The idea of small scale raid sounds like a lot of fun. And so yeah, the thought of having ads or whatever also attack, maybe you run across a boss, because yeah, you're going to be sending these caravans to different nodes and you're going to be trading goods and resources. And so it only makes sense that if like the node, like the route crosses an area that just got exposed, that's like, you know, a bunch of trolls, like yeah, you got to fight the friggin' trolls too. You're not just going to stroll through a troll camp with, you know, goodies and not expect them to attack you. I like this idea.
It does add another layer as well to the sea combat, because all of a sudden it could be like a kraken or like a mega shark or something. So
that's cool.
interesting.
Hockey, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. It might be Haki. The caravan system is designed for the attacker to participate only when they interact with certain UI. Yeah, so remember, two important things with caravans. It's outside of the corruption system. It is a PvP event. So you're not going to get corruption, but also it's an opt-in system. You got to go within a certain vicinity and you got to select like, okay, I'm going to attack this caravan. I think if you come across a caravan in progress, maybe you can opt in to defend. I'm not positive on that one, but I'm pretty sure there's UI for both. I could be wrong. But keep that in mind that it does not follow the corruption system rules. So it's just free, fun PvP. Um,
Have you ever played Red
Also,
Dead Online?
I have not.
I have not.
So they have missions in there where you got to transport goods from like your camp to town or from town to your camp. And when you initially start it, you basically show up on the map for other players, and they had the choice to come over and start attacking you. So it'd be interesting to see how they do it for the caravan system. Whether you like start pinging on the map, or is it just like a random occurrence of if you're close by it pings, or you have to seek it out like a bounty.
Oh, that's cool. Monster coin event on your caravan. That's actually one of the topics we're going to discuss today. Um, that would be so unfortunate. Monster coin event on the caravan, yeah. You think opt for both? That would be pretty cool. I played Silk Road online as a kid. Caravan PvP was awesome. Oh, that's nice. I never heard of Silk Road Online. How old is that? You will flag though? Yeah, you'll flag. Been following AOC since 2017. Nice. I have to wait until beta be watching y'all. Yeah. Very old. Um, Here, let's go to the. I think that's probably. I mean, I'm excited for like Bounty Hunter and
I'm excited for all of it.
Yeah, just all of it. But Caravan's that cool thing. Else and Matt Adam was talking about like being rewarded for PvP is not always a common thing in games. Like it's always PvP is always some afterthought, like something slapped on, like, oh, this will keep you busy. Let's give you an arena. Like having a reward structure for open world PvP is actually cool and insane. Okay, so this one's gonna be a little different. Oh, go ahead.
1 second. You just spurned like a really fun thought, I guess.
Ooh.
So sorry, you just did it. So this is your fault.
I'm sorry.
No, but you brought up a good point there, and there's oftentimes in other games that I have played where you don't feel incentivized to PvP, where like So a perfect example is Fallout 76, right? Where you can PvP against everybody. I know I heard the collective groan of everybody being upset about a game, but like you could choose to fight somebody, and they could choose to not fight back, and basically like you do 1% damage to them. So what happened? Everybody decided to not fight back. And so the game became a ghost town almost immediately because there was no incentive to actually utilize the PvP system. Same thing happened for a while in New World. Like there was a time where Nice and I would go and we try to do open world PvP, and we would find nobody to PvP against. like literally, I flagged as like a level 20 all the way up to end game for like 3 days all throughout the weekend. I saw one flagged person. I saw one. And that was it. And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to get my ass kicked. Like, I want you to kill me. I want to learn. And it was like nobody was flagged. And so these incentive situations, it just doesn't happen. Well, people are going to have incentive if all of a sudden they're trying to, like, you spend all these hours farming and you're trying to collect gold, because people collect gold and resources in different ways. And some people like to play the economy aspect and some people like the war aspect. And if as like an economy, like as a farmer, you send off like saber tooth pelts off to like another thing and you lose them to some idiot like me that just stole them from you, you're going to be incentivized to either try to defend them yourself or get people to defend them for you. And so it's incentivizing people to actually take part in the system that I think is going to be extremely valuable, because there's often times where it's like, yeah, we have PvP, but people don't actually participate. So
yeah, you have no reason, no incentive, and it just feels like, oh well, risk makes everything fun.
yes,
Like people don't jump out of planes with a parachute for no reason. Like, it's the risk, it's the thrill. People love the thrill. Like, you gotta do something to entice people. There's gotta be something. I want to feel reasoning behind what I do.
Or maybe the
No,
plane's on fire.
or maybe the plane's on fire.
yeah.
Wait, we're still talking about New World, aren't we? Now I'm playing. So this next one here, let's see. Where is it? Oh, okay. So yeah. So this next one. This is actually one that so usually, like I said earlier, you guys, we find Reddit posts, we find thoughts from you guys. You guys can DM us something to, interesting topic. Forum posts, Reddit posts, all that stuff. Anyways, that's how we usually get these topics of discussion. Something that is different about this is something that I wanted to pose to the group today.
Okay.
So what I want to discuss is skill balance, how to balance skills, and that's the short version. That's it. Like, how do you balance skills? So, in the way I approach this in skill balance, and this is something Sawman was discussing earlier when he was talking about, like, can you move while doing this charged ability? Um, the easy answer, and it wasn't until I played New World, because that was like the first game with like cooldowns that felt like almost oppressive to me. And like Guild Wars 2, I had cooldowns, but none of them, like, I had so many skills on my bar, it did not matter. Like, I didn't notice it really. But New World is a game that has 3 active skills. And some of those skills have a long cooldown. Like, I start with Sword and Shield, and that it was one skill that had a 45-second cooldown, and I only have 3 abilities. I'm just like, oh my goodness, like, this is a long time. But
Yeah.
guess what? It felt balanced. Like, this skill was super powerful. I think it was like 60% mitigation, but it had balance. It had a long cooldown. I've like and when you compare it to other games where, like, okay, we need to nerf the damage on this set. We need to nerf the damage on this skill because it's overperforming. It's really powerful when you compare it to other skills or other classes. This is just outperforming. We're gonna have to nerf the damage by 10% this patch. 2 patches later, let's nerf it by another 15%. Oh, it's underperforming. Let's buff it by 10%. And you go through this constant cycle. Like, how do I balance the skill? Do I remove this effect? Do I remove a percentage of damage? Cooldowns is the best way to balance something in an MMO. I never thought I'd say that as a ESO main, because I love the fast pace, no cooldown, action combat. But it wasn't until New World where I realized, like, oh, this makes balancing easy. Like, it makes balancing so much simpler. If something's too powerful, add a cooldown. If it does something really good, add a cast time. So adding cast times, cooldowns, restricting the mobility as you cast that ability. This is a really powerful, beam that your character fires. It does execute damage. It puts a poison status effect on someone. It just does all these crazy things, but you can't really move while you're casting it. That makes it balance. If the ability has like a synergy attached to it, maybe the ability is trash, but if your ally applies a stun to someone with that debuff that you put on that opponent, the opponent gets a huge internal explosion. I think mobility, cooldowns, range, and cast times and stuff like that is the way to balance abilities. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Simon.
Where do we begin? I always find balance in any game is just always really fucky. Um, I like the idea of having a counter to every move. That's how I think you truly achieve balance. So if there's a guy with a shield, you have someone else who can get round the shield. I'm not explaining myself really well.
No,
So
you are.
if you guys have ever played Overwatch, I think the character balance in there has been like back in the old days, it was really good. There's always a hero to counter another hero.
Mhm.
I just feel like that's how it should be with the skills within like MMOs. And one of the biggest problems you always see with like MMOs in particular is they'll bring out new abilities, new sets, new
Yes.
buffs and stuff, and it'll break them. Now,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily a bad thing. You can only see so far into the future, but it's the response time that I find is the biggest issue. So, if something does break the balance, they need to be quick to react. I don't mind if there is stuff that's OP as long as they fix it quickly.
Yeah.
Yep. I can get behind that. My it's funny. I feel like this is literally what my entire channel's about. Um I think when it comes to balance, there's lots of different ways you can go about doing it. But the first thing that you have to do is you have to make sure the gameplay is fun, which is like low hanging fruit, of course. But if you're going to provide counters, if you're going to provide these things, which I agree, I completely agree with you, Sawman. You have to make sure that the game is fun and not monotonous. What often happens with overpowered things is it's typically there's not enough risk applied to whatever's happening for that specific build or weapon or whatever. And we've talked about it in another live stream. There was 6 months ago when playing New World, muskets were extremely oppressive. And the reason muskets were extremely oppressive is because they had different dot status effects. You were stacking the ability to do mortal empowerment. So for each kill, you got 2% more damage. So you were getting a lot more damage. And then on top of that, you could operate at crazy range that no other weapon could operate or counter you. And so I would even run with a bow, which was also overtuned at the time, but I couldn't even shoot musket players at their max range because they also were able to zoom in. And so even I couldn't counter them. I would die before I even got there if they played really well. And so there was no risk applied to it. And now what they've done with musket, it's so much better. Like you could still operate it at range, but it's not nearly as oppressive. Like you have to be good at aiming. And they've given the ability to counter with like sticky grenades and stuff. And so they've actually made it like a weapon that, gave me like New World PTSD for a little bit. But now I look at it and I'm like, hey, this is actually pretty cool. Like this is actually like a really cool idea. And so as long as you can allocate, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, hey, we're melee, we're going to have this high damage abilities. Well, the risk is being in melee. Okay, so if you're at range, you have to be able to either not do as much damage or you have to give other classes the ability to close that distance or reflect or mitigate or whatever. And so, and that's why when we were talking earlier about interrupts, I do like the idea of interrupts, but then Sawman brought up a great point about, hey, if their mobility is restricted, why would you also allow them to be interrupted? Like that could be too much. And so I can agree with that. There's lots of ways to go about doing this. And as long as it's not the same cookie cutter adjustment for every single thing, cast times, movement speed, interrupts, whatever, like different ways to interact in different ways, I think it makes the game more enjoyable.
Nice. Another important thing to note is that supposed rock paper scissors ideology that Steven says the combat will follow between archetypes. Like one archetype's not going to be the strongest, and I know that sounds far-fetched. I mean, we're going to have to see it, but one archetype won't be the strongest. This archetype counters this one counters this one, but it's weak against this one. I wonder what exactly, I mean, I know what it means. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but what I wonder is the how and what way. And I got a couple of good suggestions I think I've mentioned in videos before, or maybe just on stream here. Like if the cleric is really powerful because it has a lot of self-healing, it just straight up, it maybe has an ability that goes through shields, and so the mage just doesn't do as well.
Sure.
The cleric is just really powerful, but you know what counters it is the archetype that probably has the least damage, the tank. Maybe the tank has a gap closer or a one, the gap closer will help it keep in range and pressure and stun the cleric, but maybe the way the archetypes actually have that kryptonite, that rock paper scissors versus each other, is the tank has a defile or a lessener of the healing. And I think that's what we can expect, and that's what I'm hoping they mean by rock paper scissors, is that the cleric has a lot of healing. If you want to counter that cleric in a group, because Ashes isn't balanced around 1v1, remember, it's, it's balanced for group play. And
Yeah.
If the cleric's counter, I mean, that's the only thing I could think of. The cleric's counter would be an archetype like the tank. I wouldn't imagine they give that huge dampening of healing to like the rogue or the mage that already has like good damage. They'd probably let that be the tank thing to have like a healing dampener. The fighter is really agile, has a lot of up close melee damage. It's not countered too hard. It has abilities that shreds through the tank's high armor. It has abilities that ignores resistances. So then the tank is countered. Well, now how do you counter the fighter? Maybe the mage has a lot of snares. It has range DPS. It has that range sleep ability. And you can just keep playing around. You can keep playing around. The bard is probably a more of a tougher example, or more of a complex example rather, on how it could counter everything with buffs and debuffs,
Man,
whatever.
I hope
But
so.
there's a couple examples I could think of that. Like, I'll keep going actually. I'm having fun doing this. The rogue, it has invisibility, so it's really good at ganking clerics. Maybe that's something, or it's just good in general. So it has really good damage. Um, it's good at sneaking up to the ranger has that range DPS, but the rogue is able to go invisible. That lets it sneak up on the rangers who don't have a lot of defense. Boom, it's killed. Well, now how do you counter the rogue? Well, then it comes full circle. Maybe the bard has a spell where it just illuminates the area around him. All buffs from enemies in the 10-meter radius are removed, and enemies within 20 meters are revealed. Like, no one can stealth for 10 seconds. Little stuff like that is how I hope they approach the rock paper scissors system that they've spoken on.
I think the issue is though is like 64 class skill combos, right?
Yes.
So it's no longer rock paper scissors, gun, keyboard, mouse,
Helicopter.
sellotape, helicopter.
Yeah, that's something. Was it Elf that said it? But it's something that's gonna be tricky. I think Elf was saying something like, is there gonna be like a top, this class combination is gonna be the outright obvious, the best. Will there be a clear meta even with 64 classes? If are some classes just gonna be literally unusable? Like, is Summoner Bard just gonna literally be a dumpster fire?
Yeah.
Um, and that's something I kind of spoke of in my cleric video this week. Like, I think cleric is just going to be so popular, like especially as a second, not, I think more so, even more so as a secondary augment. Like the example I used in the video, like if my ranger can do its rapid shots and shoot 3 quick arrows, but I heal for 10% of that damage now, boom, that's amazing. If my ranger can do that sky barrage where it leaps over people, but now that damage heals me, or just little stuff like that, I think that's gonna, I hope there aren't too many clear favorites. I hope I have a reason to want to be secondary tank. I hope I have a reason to do bard secondary, and where it's just not a clear cut obvious answer. Also, by the way, I would like to note that I'm probably going rogue cleric. It sounds amazing. I'm not a super fan of the name Soulbow, but it's not bad. It sounds pretty cool.
Rogue
I'm a
names are
little,
best. We already discussed this in the last
yeah,
podcast.
rogue
They're,
names
they're the
just
best.
you got it easy no matter what you choose. I'm a little, probably a try hard min maxer here, but I was looking at little stuff. Did you notice that his they actually brought it up, so I didn't have to notice too hard, but he had lifesteal on his wand.
Yeah. There's also an ability that you can imbue on the weapon to provide lifesteal.
Yes,
which is
I was
interesting
already,
for the cleric.
I'm over here theory crafting for a game I never played and I don't even know how shit works. I'm just like, all right, my ranger cleric's gonna have healing from the abilities because a cleric secondary. I'm gonna get me a lifesteal bow. I'm just gonna be damaging from distance while also healing. I'm just overthinking stuff. Like I just think that'd be cool.
You
Yeah,
think so small. I'm thinking of like getting enough money to build up an army to take over a node and then eventually take over the world.
Ooh, I would like to run the world.
are you
I
really
don't
thinking about world domination? Is that your goal?
always and forever in every instance of life.
Oh, that's
Right
excellent.
now, I'm thinking about it.
We were
Large
talking
cleric meta.
really quick. We were talking in my Discord about how we were gonna have like pirate ships, and basically like multiple people wanted to sail underneath me, so then I'd be an admiral, and then I'd have a pirate fleet. And so we've already talked about this as well. So maybe I could be like your sea hand, Sawman, and like do your bidding out at sea.
We will need a navy, so yes, this sounds great.
No, but
Dude, that'd be cool. Just
yeah,
own a whole section of the ocean, the open sea. Like this is like you don't cross this line. This is our territory.
yeah, this is ours. We raid everything, and I'm excited about everything. But that stuff was super cool to me, and yeah, I'm very interested in the rock paper scissors aspect of this game because 64 classes is so much. And Sawman kind of mentioned it. You mentioned it as well. 64 is so much. And then they have different weapons as well that are going to augment skills and abilities. And so it's like, it's great to say like you're going to group around like team battle and like, hey, we're going to make this a team that we're going to balance around group v group and stuff. But that opens up like, are you going to ignore small scale? And I'm not, I'm not saying that they're going to. It's just like if you're going to ignore it, that means that it's not your focus. That means some things and potential abilities could run rampant in these scenarios because it's not something that they're focused on. And so what does this mean? Like which of the 64 classes could they be overtuned in this environment? Like they're balanced for big group v group stuff. And we've seen this happen in ESO. Like there was a point in time where Nightblade was the best solo small scale spec, and then it was literally the worst group play spec, like the worst in the game.
Yeah.
And Warden was the best group play spec, but it was the worst for direct damage and these sorts of things. And so I think you're going to have people make decisions based off of what they enjoy. And I'm curious if they're going to even like this is a question I'd have for Steven also is are these types of encounters going to run rampant? Because in a caravan style war, in pirates, like open sea warfare, or just overall just PvPing in different areas, like I don't know. I think there's a lot of room for potential certain specs to run wild, and it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Nice. Couple of things real quick I was thinking about. I didn't think about this until y'all said it, or I think Salman said it first. Well, whoever said the thing about a navy. I didn't even. Why didn't I think about that? I'm so worried about Zergs, like open world, like, oh, Zergs, big siege wars. I had not even fathomed the thought of open world Zergs, i.e. navies, like a whole cluster of ships just locking down an area where certain legendary Kraken spawns, or just really pirating the open seas, which we learned is like essentially a corruption-free zone. Like that sounds insane. Running a navy, like
I'm gonna roleplay
people
the
are
shit out of
so
it too.
yeah, like like everyone's worried about being mayor or owning a freehold or running this side of the map and controlling these nodes and sieging this castle and this guild castle, whatever. I didn't even think about it, but dominating the open seas could be a more acquirable and or realistic goal for us. Like that sounds actually really cool. That sounds really cool, getting like a little pirate gang together. Um
We're
yeah,
gonna have a
I'm looking
handshake and
forward to
everything.
that. Yes, got to.
The question is though, do they have swimming in this game?
I
Huh.
don't
We
know
have
if they've covered it yet.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They got aquatic mounts.
Doesn't
Yeah,
mean they have swimming.
I would hmm. That's
Hey, we
true.
all thought New World would have swimming. Okay.
You know who did swimming really well was Guild Wars 2. Like, dude, that game is actually quite intricate. It's got like a lot going on. Like, there's actual like you got a whole underwater like gear
They do have
loadout,
swimming.
and like there's like mobs you fight underwater. Like Guild Wars 2 is pretty fleshed out. I remember when I first started like close to the open area and I seen that I can dive. I was like, "Oh, what?" Um
Galwood here,
Underwater PvP.
Galwood here says, yeah, you could have a small naval skirmish turn into a major battle. Yeah, I mean, imagine a situation where, like, you have, let's say 3 or 4 small ships. Let's say you're not a big ship, but you just literally patrol different areas, and you manage to just lock down all caravan transports across the sea. Like literally anything coming and going from across the like both sides, it's now yours, and you're just making like a metric fuck ton of resources and gold and things. Like these nodes are going to come hunt you down. They're going to be like, we can't send anything over there. We can't progress. Like we got to take care of this. And you've now created your own PvP combat in the area that you want because you've become so much of a problem. Like that just sounds awesome. That sounds so awesome to me.
Pardon the TIE fighter over my shoulder. The Star Wars geek is about to come out. But you know what that just reminded me of when you said that is episode one, where Star Wars has like a lot of politics and stuff involved. But if you remember at the beginning of the movie, the whole cause of that whole conflict on Naboo is a trade blockade, and that just, for simplistic terms, involved a bunch of ships position themselves around a planet saying, hey, you're not going to get outside goods, imports, exports, whatever. We're
Yep.
going to block your trade. Like being able to do that on Ashes of Creation, just I would love to do have that many ships in our navy to where we can just really set up a blockade. Oops. Where we can just literally set up a blockade. I think that's like we were talking about one stream like being a mafia, like wouldn't want nothing bad to happen to your freeholds. Like we could set that up on the open seas, and that would be actually very very fun. Very fun.
It'd be a shame if someone killed all your pigs, wouldn't it?
Hey, I don't know this because I haven't read too much up on the
man.
naval content, and it's been a while, but you have to construct a ship.
Yes.
When it just gets destroyed, is it just done? Like, is that the end of it? I'm assuming it doesn't respawn at a dock somewhere, right? Anybody in chat?
I'm assuming you have to repair, like once you have it, you don't lose it, but it goes under repairs. Like it's either travelable or untravelable, but I don't know. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I just realized I did not know that.
I know in arcades you have to craft it. I don't know if it's a consumable though.
Yeah, I
But
wonder, do you whip it out like a mount or yeah?
I mean, it makes sense if you had to craft it again. If they sink your ship, it's at the bottom of the ocean, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah, that's a good point.
Hmm.
It's a good
Yeah,
way to sink resources too, if it's actually sinkable.
Yeah, I hope it's just like gone. I hope it's just gone. So someone in chat said, I think it was BM. He said, Bard Cleric is just gonna be the meta, like most wanted, desired spec for groups, like he's calling it now. And I agree. I had the same thought. I would say Cleric main, Bard secondary. Like that just sounds like a ridiculous combination. You're gonna have all the healing because they already said like nothing's replacing the Cleric as a main healer. Like it's just not gonna happen, not for any meaningful content. Like your heals, I would imagine get like some cool buffs added to them or something like that.
Yeah.
I just see that being the support class better than just a plain cleric in my opinion, likely. Also, speaking of bard, why does the mage have a ranged sleep ability? It just bothers me. It's the one skill from the mage showcase where I mean, don't get me wrong, it looks cool. I like it. It's really cool. But I was like, it looks broken for one, like the amount of the duration that they're slept for. But two, the fact that it's ranged, and three, would that just not fit better on the bard? Like playing like a flute or a certain lullaby, and then you get an AOE sleep. Maybe that's how it'll happen. But right now, the mage's sleep is an AOE and it's ranged. I think that's such a bard ability to imagine an AOE sleep from the bard. Like, dude, that would be insane. I just don't think it makes sense in the mage's kit. I don't know. I would rather see a ranged shock stun that paralyzes. See, that already, I just thought of that off the top of my head. To me, that already makes sense. But I mean, it's not too far fetched. I mean, a wand, cast a spell, they pass out. We've seen that before. It's not too far fetched. But I'm just saying, I hope the bard has an AoE sleep. I'm just saying.
Cleric has the chains. They have the chained ability that if people are, well, what is it? You're knocked off balance or whatever, you can then CC them with a chained ability. So they have the ranged chains also on the cleric. So maybe there will be some overlapping types of buffs like that among different classes, just because if you do 64 different classes, that's so many different types of things to come up with uniqueness for everything. Maybe they will have unique overlaps. I don't know. We'll have to see. I guess what happens with the bard. Because the rain, like, sleeps seem just so bard, and
it does, yeah.
And that doesn't seem like a mage ability to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people disagree with me, but that's my perspective too.
Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have here? I was gonna discuss monster coins.
Okay.
Actually, hold on. Here, I'm gonna go with this article instead. Monster coins, I feel like we can spend a lot of time on. Probably do its own discussion, but
this Reddit post.
Yeah. So this is a very thought-provoking, kind of actually ties in loosely, kind of the where we just took a tangent to. Here, let me make sure chat can see. So we got a Reddit post here, chat. So how in depth is the secondary class system actually going to be? This is something we were all just talking about. Like Els just said, 64 class, like how different can we really make the skills and or effects, and like what's really gonna happen? Like how hard is balancing really gonna be? So let's read what this guy says. I read this. This is something I just put in our chat today. I read this literally, like, think while I was at work. I thought it was a very interesting talking point. So let's get into it.
Sure.
I'm a little confused about the class system. I'm wondering how much the secondary archetype will actually change the class, and if it would be able to change your role and stuff like that. For example, will the mage be able to viably heal if picking the cleric as their secondary archetype? So a mage cleric, can he actually be a healer? I already know the answer to those, but I'll circle back. Or would a mage who is typically very squishy be able to tank if he chose the tank archetype as a secondary? That one especially would be really kind of strange if they couldn't, in my opinion. I'm gonna disagree there. We'll be back with that one. Another thing is how much the augments are actually going to change abilities. Like, are they just going to add bonuses or completely change spells? I saw someone make a post here about druid style healing. I was thinking the same thing, but about damage with the mage. I'm wondering if maybe the ranger as a secondary class in these cases would cover this, since they seem to be nature related. I'm just wondering how much the secondary archetypes are really going to add to the class. I know we're still far out, but I hope to get more info and clarification on this, because the base classes look really good so far. So I want to tackle this one first. So he says, so the first thing he says, and by the way, amazing post. I like this because none of us really know. It's been a while since we've gotten new information on this. In my cleric video, I think I shared did I share a clip in that one? I don't know. My stuff is just running together at this point. But nothing's going to, no, it was the first cleric presentation. It was the day and night cycle. Basically choosing cleric as your secondary, you will not be a healer. Like, you're not going to get heals added to your toolkit. So the way the archetype system is going to work, you're not going to go mage cleric and then get a bunch of cleric skills or a couple of cleric skills. You are a mage, you will remain a mage, and what happens is your current abilities then can be augmented to the secondary type you chose. So mage ability, let's say for example, the ball of lightning, the floating little ball of lightning that floats slowly, doing the AoE damage and things in its path. So if you were to choose I don't know, let me choose a easy or simple one. If you were to choose I'm gonna jump really far out here and say rogue secondary archetype. It now, instead of lightning damage, can be augmented to a different school. It can be shadow damage, which the rogue, let's say, specializes in that. So maybe instead of ball of lightning, it's black lightning. So it's like it's AoE. Instead of lightning damage, it's like shadow damage, or it becomes a shadow ball. And that's just a rough, far fetched, like I said. But that's how it would work. It will change that ability. It's not gonna give you a whole different kit. You're not going to just get a bunch of heals if you did Mage Cleric. If you did Mage Cleric, maybe that ball will heal you for the damage that AoE thing does. Maybe it'll heal allies as it's also damaging as it goes through the path of the enemies. And it's holy magic now. It's not going to just give you the ability to fulfill that role. And that's more so going to be obvious when you choose Cleric as a secondary, when you choose Tank as a secondary, because tank, you're probably just gonna get mitigation added to your abilities. Maybe the mage has that damage shield. If you chose tank secondary, maybe, I don't know, it makes that damage shield even stronger, or it puts it on your allies around you as well to a lesser hit points. It's gonna be stuff like that. It's not really gonna change your thing. You take over, else my daughter's here.
Sure. Yeah, so this in my opinion, like I am very excited for the node system. Like I think that's one of the most important ones just because it's so unique to MMOs and to Ashes in particular. But outside of that, how the secondary archetype is going to change how these classes function, to me, is the second most interesting aspect to what we will see in live streams in the future. Because yeah, if they, like, you could go so in depth into it, or just like, oh yeah, like instead of doing nature damage, you now do physical damage because your backup's the fighter. Like I don't know exactly how in depth they're going to go. And the more in depth they go, the more creative and unique these 64 classes will be. And the less in depth they go, I think the less it really means to have like your backup archetype. And so I don't want to say that this changes everything, but I would say I would say that this one will really impact exactly like what people think about Ashes of Creation and their 64 classes. I don't know what you think about it, Sawman.
I'm not too sure how the secondary class works, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not really looked that much into it. But I know in Arcade, like you had obviously 3 different skill sets to choose from. So initially you'd go Bard, but then you could choose Healer, then you could choose, like you said, like some random class. And what ended up happening was, and this is one of the biggest complaints people had, was although you had all this variety, there was just like one meta that everyone always went,
Yeah.
and it was always like the same like 3 skills that people would pick.
Yeah.
Because although they had that much variety, like some just stood out more than others. It was like you were saying earlier, like how's a Bard Summoner going to work? Or I can't remember what some of the bad ones were supposed to be, but
Yeah, like
it's
Bard
going to be an
Summoner,
interesting.
Bard Rogue.
Yeah, and like if I was to compare it to like, so for instance, Star Wars Galaxies has roles on there, which, all professions as they call them, which are very much like role play roles.
Sure.
So you could be an entertainer, and as an entertainer, you can dance and play instruments, right?
Sure.
And with that, you would go around and you can go to different cantinas and like dance, play music, earn tips, and so forth. But at the same time, you could also buff your group. So although some of the roles, some people who want to go and do PvP, they're not necessarily going to go be like a entertainer. They'll go more towards like the other professions, which are more gun ho. So as long as there's like a right amount of balance between like not just being about PvP and PvE, maybe being a bard means when you own your tavern, you get like extra XP from it when people come to it. You know what I mean? Just like
That makes
shape it up
sense.
a bit differently.
Something I would be worried about, and it depends on how detailed they go with this augment system, which I'm really looking forward to it because that's their chance to really give each of those 64 classes value and, more importantly, identity.
Yes.
Is I hope it's not just like simplistic or lazy where basically I just hope there's a sense of identity. I want the augments to really, really mean something. If I'm weird and I choose summoner, I don't know, summoner rogue. I want those abilities that I get as my secondary to really augment my minions. It becomes shadow minions. Like, oh, does it transform the look of those minions? And same thing with each class. I just hope the amount of schools of augments that we get actually means something. Because if they and I don't think this is the case, but uh we've been fooled before. Like we've seen games get the facades of class identity and making you think your choice mattered. Um, I just think that if it's 64 classes, but then you really break it down, that it's really just the 8 archetypes, and that secondary augment or that secondary archetype really didn't change much for you. It's gonna be a feels bad, man. And remember, there's like different augments other than your secondary class or your secondary archetype rather. You know, religious augments, I don't know. There's a bunch of augments. If the secondary augment, the secondary class really isn't interesting, and the classes don't feel that different, and it really is just about that primary archetype, that's gonna be a little disappointing.
See, what I really liked about Star Wars Galaxy as well, they had like a architect profession, and that these were the only people who could go away and build player houses. And so, even though it was like I said, once again, more like a role play role, you still had to speak to these people, and socialize with them. And I just, I mean, it depends as well. Like, would you be able to change your secondary skill on Ashes, or are you locked in once you choose it? Same with like your first skill. We pretty much come to expect that when you choose a character and class, like that's it from the start. You're stuck with that. If you
Yeah.
don't like it, you have to re-roll. So I don't know. I want to see them do something good with the different skills. I don't want it just to be revolved around PvP and PvE. I want to see like how else they expand it out into the economy. You know, maybe there's like you get plus points on your node if you are a bard, for instance, or
Oh
summoner.
yeah. Cool thing is you can change your secondary class. As far as like archetypes having like a role play in the world. Only one I know so far, and I think it's the only one that's been revealed, is like the rogue will be the only one that can access certain parts of certain dungeons, like secret loot rooms, and he has to go through and open it. I don't know if they're gonna do one for each one, but yeah.
It makes sense if they did though, because then it would have like a unique selling point.
Mm-hmm.
Like tanks are so. Apologies to anyone. I find tanks to be quite boring. You know, hold block and stay alive. You know, that's your job. So to give them something like maybe they're armor master, maybe they have the ability to craft specific weapons that no one else can because they're the big strong people. That'd be like kind of a cool aspect.
Yeah.
Sure. I got a comment here from Galwood. He says, I would keep low expectations from augments, probably just different passives and maybe some recolors. Steven describes it as a different look and feel to your abilities. If augments drastically changed abilities, then the math works out to 8,000 plus new abilities, which is impossible. Other devs have also mentioned that the 8,000 plus new ability number is wrong and it isn't what you think it is. So I'm not expecting too much.
That's a good statement then.
I'm very, like I still think like how this is going to be finalized is extremely interesting, because if it is just, it could be super interesting to choose different secondaries, or it could just be very bland. And we're just not going to know until they finally reveal what that is. Like, okay, you do different types of damage, or you have a different type of healing that you could scale into with different gear, maybe, or whatever. Like if you're a cleric, and I don't know. I don't know. Like I'm very curious to see how they're going to go about doing this. Is it going to be support based augments? Is it just going to be damage based augments? Is it going to be some combination of these? Like, that's why I'm very excited for this, because it could fall flat, or it could be very, very interesting, and I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's no telling. But yeah, I like what you said there. I think it's best to probably just lower expectations, because the amount of augments that will be in the game, just with secondary classes, like I said, just with that, not with the religious augments and everything like that, it's gonna be it'd be a lot of dev work.
So I don't know how long, like we're over
But
2
yeah,
hours now, so
hopefully,
how much
I
longer.
know, like they mentioned the mage as a good example. Like it had, I think it was 4 different schools of like lightning, fire, and was it frost? I forgot the other one, but different kinds of magic. So it may have been 3. I don't know, but so we know stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think we should expect too much. That's true. I'm excited for it though, and I hope they make it interesting. I got someone in chat. Will off tanking be a thing? Maybe tank as a secondary archetype provides some threat generation off of tanking, or maybe just mitigation for solo content. I think yes to both. I'm sure if summoner tank, if you go summoner tank, your minions will start pulling more aggro. The skill that your minion does generates more threat. I'm pretty sure that's something we could expect. I'm pretty sure tank as a secondary augment is going to have or a secondary class, excuse me, is going to add potential for threat to a lot of things. I don't know. I'd assume so.
Yeah, like maybe rogue has more backstab damage, tank has more mitigation, mage has more mobility, cleric has more healing. Like I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So. Arcane, thank you. That's the school of magic I was missing. Arcane, frost, lightning, and fire. There we go. All right. Well, that's pretty much all I had. You guys have any questions in chat? Else you had something you want to discuss or?
We covered most of what I wanted to talk about. I figured we could do what we normally do, and we could ask people in the chat if they have anything they wanted to quick talk about, and if not, we can save it for the drama that'll happen next Tuesday. So
yeah. While you guys while you guys are thinking of questions, if you have any, because I'm sure I missed a couple there. Sorry about that, chat.
Yes.
Everyone's overall thoughts about the cleric stream. My feedback personally, I liked it. I liked it. I was hoping to see more, and I hate saying it this way, but action mode healing. It seemed like healing, which I'm sure healing is a lot more efficient and better tab target obvious. I don't think there's probably a doubt there. But it definitely seems like that World of Warcraft whack-a-mole healing. I thought the healing abilities looked good. I was hoping to see more action mode, but I just don't think that works. I just don't think that works for Ashes from what I can tell, first impressions. It could be like, oh, Steven just doesn't play it that way, but I just don't see how it's gonna work efficiently. What else? I love that they showed that story/story arc or quest, whatever you want to call it. I think that was really good. It was a way to showcase the archetype while also providing, background, good background footage, like actually fighting other things, doing a story while simultaneously showing the archetype. I like the mage showcase too, where it was more like an arena style. It wasn't really a story going on. It was just like, hey, here's the skills in combat. I like both. I think either one was fine. I do think that they can always knock out 2 birds with 1 stone by showing an archetype and showing a system or something like that. Like, give the archetypes their, make that the main focus, but at the same time, you show, I don't know. Well, I guess like kind of how they did the day and night cycle, where they showed they gave a teaser of the cleric, but that was like an off to the side thing. The main thing was the day and night cycle. So maybe that's not best to do with archetype showcases, but whenever they can show something on the side, I like.
I will also say that, after watching the mage and cleric, after, I went back and I looked at the fighter too. I like how they made a concerted effort to have people that have played the class show the demonstration. Like there's a point where like Steven's going through the different skills and abilities for the mage, and he's like, hey, and now you take over and then you can show different combos. And he did like that aspect to the mage. And it's not a big deal. Like I don't think it's a big deal. But at the same time, it's also really helpful for players to see like what more in-depth combat looks like, instead of just picking it up like, hey, this is what the class will look like when you get combos down. This is what and you could tell, like I could tell when I was watching the cleric reveal that Steven has played and mained healers in the past. You could just tell that like he knew what he was doing, and he was able to provide an aspect to the cleric in a way that it gave it justice as to what the archetype is and what it's going to provide. And so my biggest complaint, I guess, would be that I wanted to see more damage dealing skills on the cleric. And I'm not saying like it's unfinished, and so I'm not trying to say like, oh, this is a huge failure. F. I hope that there's a lot more fleshed out offensive capabilities of the cleric as well, and it's not just stuck being, I hope it's more of a paladin and not just a healer. So
Yeah.
so that's my perspective after watching it. But yeah, it's pre-alpha 2. These are the skills that they showed. Like it isn't a max level character. There's probably more to it, and so yeah, I'm hoping there's a lot more of that in the future.
Yeah, that was like my biggest thing. Is like I want to see the offensive kit, but it's crazy that they said they got damage skills and stuff like that. But like first I was like, dang, why didn't they show more damage stuff? But I was like, then I had to think about it like, damn, they slotted like 18 heals.
Yeah.
So there was just like no room, like yeah. But I wish you know what? I hope, you know what? Maybe next time they show something that's not not an archetype showcase. Obviously you wouldn't show cleric again as an archetype showcase, but let's say 2 streams from now is the caravan stream, or it's the crafting stream, but they got to walk through an area of npcs to get to that crafting table. Maybe that will be a dps cleric, so you can see more of the dps kit, but the whole main focus of the stream won't be the cleric, but you're like, oh, this is the one that we didn't get to show. This is the beam, the holy beam or the prismatic beam of the cleric. This is good for damage, and it's not the main focus, but for those people that wanted to see more of the damage kit, like you and I, it provides something just a little extra on the side.
Yeah.
They showed smite, guessing there's a line of dark damage abilities. Yeah. Oh yeah, and yeah, clerics. So that's a good thing. So the clerics have 2 schools of magic: the holy magic, well, life, and then death magic. Oh, random thought. I just remembered they said this on stream. Did you hear when they said they was talking about resurrections? This was post gameplay. They was talking about resurrections. The one spell that puts a hot, if they would have died, they can't die with that hot on them. But they also said they're going to be like just normal, basic, like, oh, raise you from the dead skills, which I think was in Alpha 1, or was at least in the Alpha 1 preview. They said that there's going to be a resurrection spell, but it's going to come at a cost, or they said something like that, or like it was frowned upon. You guys, I cannot remember the quote, but what did he say? I can't remember if it was. To me, when I first heard it, it seemed like he was like hinting at like a legal system, like you'll get like a corruption or something like that. I'm gonna start looking it up. Do you remember that part?
I do not, actually.
I do not either.
I'm just typing the word resurrection on.
But
the
I believe
wiki.
you. I believe you.
But you believe me, right? I'm not crazy, right?
I watched the go through the skills and abilities and everything like 2 or 3 times. I really didn't pay attention to the Q&A at the end. So yeah, that's probably my bad, but I was interested in the combat, and yeah, that's kind of where I stopped. So
Call yourself an Ashes Creation content creator. You don't even watch the podcast.
I did.
The live stream.
I watched half of it 3 times. I just didn't watch the other half.
Wow. I just feel like you come to this podcast very unprepared. I can't believe you've done that.
I know. Who would come on a podcast and talk about something that they didn't watch? That's crazy.
I'm gonna have to look it. I'm gonna have to just look it up later or listen to it later. But I can't remember what they said. But yeah,
Steven mentioned the resurrection spell reducing the XP debt that players incur from dying normally. So if your buddy net reses you, then you are penalized less XP for dying. Interesting.
Oh.
Interesting. That's from Galwood as well. So.
And will clerics be the only one to resurrect other players then?
Well, there's a necromancer. Is it cleric summoner that's necromancer? There's like a specific
summoner cleric.
Okay, summoner cleric. Okay.
Maybe though. I mean, it's a necromancer. There's no way. Like
I mean, if they're gonna,
it'll be a secondary, but it'll be the secondary. That's the weird part. Maybe cleric necromancer should have been called the summoner, because I don't know. That's a maybe sacrifice your pets to bring back a nearby ally. I don't know. That's gonna be a weird one, because would you really let something as powerful as resurrection? And here's why I say this, because resurrection is going to be something in the cleric's kit, not the summoner kit. In theory, that is.
Maybe the
Which
bard will have it.
means, huh? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the concept there, but I mean, it's called a necromancer, so I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be in the summoner kit. I
But
don't
it's
know.
funny that you said you think it's gonna like have a cost to it, because then if that's the theory, wouldn't rogue also have a cost? Because aren't rogues usually thieves?
Mm,
Bandits, yeah, you'd think so.
yeah. If you get caught stealing something, maybe they'll have like a bounty system kind of style, or you know, you get caught, you're in trouble kind of thing.
Or maybe they've
Summoner,
just become red players and they can't go to certain nodes.
yeah,
Sure.
I can see that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's a lot of this stuff. It's like, it all comes back to the same thought process of, okay, how's the second archetype going to augment the first? Like, what's
Yeah.
happening here? And that's why, like, to me, I'm excited for nodes. Like, I'm very excited for nodes. I really hope it comes out in August. That'll be a fun one to talk about. But actual class discussion is very interesting too, because like if it's not a ton, like you can't switch your first archetype, so you really have to choose wisely on what you want and what you think you're going to get playability out of. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's so much speculation when it comes to secondary classes, especially. Like, it's all for like we got a little bit of tidbits that we can kind of go, emphasize on, but at the end of the day, I you know what, that leads me into something, not a whole nother topic, but that leads me into like I wonder, and I asked this question to you two. I wonder how long it's going to be until we see a secondary archetype shown on stream, because they're still showing archetypes. I mean, we still got a couple more left to show. How long until they say this is a whatever? On the fighter stream, they said that was a did they say that was a dreadnought? What was they what do you call the fighter in that melee showcase? No, they said that we seen an assassin. You guys know what assassin is? Is that rogue secondary? I
I
know.
want to say it's
I just know they
rogue.
showed one. Rogue is assassin, so no, that wasn't
I
it.
think so. I could be wrong.
Zillion, how you doing, buddy? How much different the secondary changes the classes will be a huge factor for successful. Yes, yes.
Yes.
It's going to be a huge factor in how successful the game is. Like, people want that. I mean, even just for a role play perspective, right? They want that class identity. They want to feel like that choice of a secondary matters. They don't want Necromancer to just be a cool name. They want to do necromancer stuff. That could be, and we don't know what that's going to be. We don't know if that's as simple as it's going to change your summon type to well, they kind of confirmed that. We don't know if it's going to be as simple as it changed your summon type from, well, you used to summon a bear, but now that's skeletons, like a little skeletal army around you. Or if just because you're a necromancer, you're going to be resurrecting your teammates. We don't know these things. It's like, but it's going to determine a lot. And I really hope those, and I say random archetypes in a polite way, but I'm talking about those weird combinations like, um, well, Bard Fighter's not an off one. What's a weird, you know
Summoner
what? That's
Bard.
a Summoner Bard. Yeah, what's the weirdest archetype combination you guys can think of? I think Summoner Bard probably is it. It was Weapon Master. Thank you. Thank you, Stelper.
Bard Ranger or something like that. Just
Bard Ranger. Okay, you kind of. I think Else is winning right now. Bard Ranger. Summoner Ranger. Yeah.
Bard
No, no, no,
rogue.
no. Tank
Bard
Ranger. There it is. No,
I'm
no one's
murderous with
beating
my
that.
guitar.
You'll be a
Tank-
stealth music player.
Nothing beats
Where's that
Tank
music
Ranger.
coming from?
You just like follow someone around with a trumpet. Like,
Why is that Bush playing a flute?
That Bush playing a flute.
It's not flute, a recorder. Even better.
That sounds like the most useless decision. A Tank Ranger. I could almost see Ranger Tank because you want to be ranged, but also have mitigation and tankiness. But Tank Ranger, like, who are you doing that
Yeah,
for?
makes no
Like,
sense.
that makes. I think I'm. I know it's like. I know I'm tooting my own horn, but nothing beats that, right? Tank Ranger. I don't. I can't think of nothing more
Rogue Bard.
pointless.
Rogue
Rogue.
Bard.
No, I could picture
Yeah.
you being a rogue and then like you play a. No, okay, maybe that's pretty terrible too. I don't know.
It's
No,
gonna
you
be my
pre-buff
first
with your
choice.
bard abilities or something. I don't know. Sentinel. Sentinel. Yep, that's the name of the tank ranger. Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting idea because then so Sentinel implies that they're going to be able to detect things. So maybe, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize that was what it was called. So maybe they
And
can detect rangers.
be like the druid tanking. Well, the tank has that long chain pull ability, as is tradition with literally every MMO. Maybe if you go ranger secondary, like you can get a bow and then, no, I'm just doing too much. I'm hoping too much. I'm not even gonna finish what I was gonna say, but it just sounds off tank classes to deal with ads. Yeah, I could see that. Oh, now it's sounding a little bit more smart. What if that makes one of your no range taunts? I don't know. It just seems it's just some of these combinations. I'm like, all right, is that really what you want to do?
Yeah, yeah. Like you're touting 64. Here's all I want to say: you're touting 64 classes, which is awesome. Are they going to be unique enough to where people will want to play 64 different classes? And if they're not, then you don't really have 64 classes. So
Mm.
that's my point of view, I guess.
I want to run into someone on the battlefield and be like, huh, what is that guy? Like what? Because we played games with like 6+ classes, right? And I hate when something's a clear meta and everyone's running it. Everyone's running the
Yep.
same build, whether it's sets or what they're running the same class because it's the class. It just got a huge buff on the last PTS cycle, and it went live, and everyone's playing this class because it's strong. I want to run into a certain combination and get surprised. Like I want to be playing Ashes of Creation. I know the meta. I'm 2 months into the game after release, and I'm playing, and then one day out in the wild, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna corrupt and try to steal the stuff this guy has been farming. And I want to run into a freaking mage summoner that catches me off guard. And I have not seen that build. I don't see that class combination too often. I want him to catch me off guard and be like, oh, I never thought about that. That's different. I like what you're doing there. That is something different.
Yep.
Mage summoner low key might be pretty cool. The meta is going to be a small number of classes, probably like 6 to 7, but there will be lots of casuals with all kinds of homebrew builds. Yeah, just pure role playing kind of goal in mind. The meta is Bard, Cleric, and everyone else will basically be working from. I think it's going to be Cleric Bard. Cleric Bard will be the way. Well, I can see both ways, obviously. Cleric Bard. You'll be a healer, and everyone needs a healer, and you're probably going to have buffs on those heals or something. I don't know. But yeah, if we had to like what do you call those things? Time capsules, where like you got to cement your foot right now. What do you think is going to be the most popular? I think the most wanted thing would be a cleric bard, and that it's going to be the best support class. Same thing with I don't think pure tank is going to be the best. I think it's going to be tank cleric, which I think is a paladin. I think those two are going to be it.
Yeah, cleric tank was my first thought process. Was as like the most popular. I could see people wanting to be very tanky healers. So.
Oh yeah, that'd be
And then being
pretty
able to
great
do
PvP.
both, like activate threat and be a tank if you need to, potentially, depending on what the secondary archetype does, and then also having heal. So I could see that being a thing. Mage has always been popular, obviously, and so is rogue.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, I think the most you'll see is cleric, probably cleric something. Cleric something seems like it'll be the clear cut best, but we'll see. We'll see what's strong and what's not. I know we're going to end soon, so I have one last thing I wanted to ask you guys. As far as content creation goes, I know we're a ways out from like Alpha 2 and obviously beta and the game going live, but have you guys thought about the type of content you'd be able to post with Ashes? Because I keep coming up like with unlimited ideas. Like I've watched it. I don't know if you guys think the same way, but because it's more sandbox based, there's so many more things you could do. Like we could do a pirate day. Like we could raid caravans. You could be a ganker. You could be, like Sawman's talking about how he wants to raise an army and control the world. Like that could be its entire friggin' series where he's like politically going through like how he's going to control these different things. And I don't know. Like it's just there's so many opportunities for unique content to come out of the game that it's kind of fun to look at it from a content creator's perspective. So
I Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I think about it all the time, and yeah, I think there's gonna be so many like small role play opportunities. If I feel competent enough to do like dungeon guides or stuff like that, the biggest thing I'm planning on doing the top 5 PvP like Ashes. Well, excuse me, not top 5 PvP. I got to get out the habit of saying that. I want to do a top 5, and I don't want to exclude it the PvP outnumbered fights. I want it to just be top 5 moments. It could be like your group wiped the dragon in just 15 seconds, new record, or it could
Sure.
be a cool 1v3, or it could be a huge group battle that you guys won, or it could be a funny glitch where your guy was floating in the air. I just want to do top 5 moments of that week, and I think that'll be really fun. Um, Also, I'm very interested in seeing what everyone else does as far as like, because um, dedicated to covering server. Oh, he's Zillan said, I think there will be entire channels dedicated to covering server guild drama. That's another thing. Like, here's the drama going on my server. Like, hey, we got these nodes developed, and I'm also going to be keeping an eye out on forums or other channels. Like, what's going on your server? Here's how our node developed. And you watch another person that plays on this server, like, and you're watching, like, wait, whoa, 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 how do you got that dungeon? Like, where is that? I've been over there. Well, it turns out because they leveled this node on their map is level 5, whereas that's like a vassal node. That area right there is like a vassal node on your server, so you won't get access to that quest. And you're like, whoa, I want that. That's some cool gear that come out of there. So now on your server, you want access to that, but you can't get it. So now you're like, I want to siege that node over there so we can, restructure how we got our server. So stuff like that. And yeah, builds, I'm gonna be all for the builds and testing. I know else I'm sure else will do that too. Else might actually, maybe we could do some sort of joint top 5 moments, like joint commentary. That'd be pretty cool.
Sure.
But yeah, I think testing, like we want to test so much. I mean, it's alpha 2. The whole point of it is testing. Like Else always mentioned, testing corruption, like testing how damage works. How's damage calculated? What's the best armor? What could we perceive as the meta? What is broken, etc., etc.
So
I also
man.
want to be a class main. Like once I find my class, like really do the content on that class.
I'm probably just gonna do a should you play in 2042 and then move on to the next game.
Yeah, so I got this idea. The reason I brought this up is this is actually a Sawman inspired question because Sawman and another one of our buddies plays Online 2, which is open world PvP all the time. And he's done videos where he did an entire video where he played as a pacifist in Mortal Online 2. And I thought it was hilarious. Like the idea of like trying to go through and not fight anybody was hilarious. And the fact that you just let Eddie get killed nonstop was also hilarious. So I really enjoyed that. And I was like, man, you can do so many different things like that potentially in a sandbox game like this. Like you could do pirates, you could be raids. Like one of the ones that I came up with that I want to do is get corrupted. You know, if I get to a point to where I have higher end gear, I want to get a corruption score to where when I die, I lose pieces of gear. And it's a way to like gain participation. Like I get a fight, like people will want to fight me because they can get my gear, but then I'm also donating to other players in the community. It's like, hey, chase me around the map and try and kill me. You're going to get gear and you're going to get resources and stuff like this. And so the idea of doing something like that, like would be a lot of fun to do as like a way of giving back and also not like showing like, hey, the corruption system's not all like oogie boogie, like boogeyman sort of thing. Like it can actually be fun. And so I definitely want to do one of those or like have that be a thing. And I think that would be really fun to do. So
I can already see your titles. I went corrupted and lost everything. Or and how you keep justifying you going corrupted as you donating gear. I could just picture you spinning it that way, like you're being like charitable. Like
guys, come fight me.
I 1vx for charity. I think that would be too cool.
Well, like imagine you're a new character, right? And like it's like you get a chance for a gold like high-end weapon. Like that could set you up monetarily for a very long time. And so you just be like, yeah, I want to go try and fucking kill this guy. And so
yeah.
Like that, I think that'd be a lot of fun. And then obviously like the no more organized group stuff, caravan raids, out like there's just so many different things that could potentially occupy your time in this game, which would be really cool. So
I want to see someone get corrupted to the point of no return, to where they just like
yeah,
they're just so in XP that they can't even fight, and like how long they last, and I just think
yeah,
that's gonna be funny.
that's exactly what I want to do. So I think it'd be
Challenge accepted.
fun.
All right. Well, this has been fun. Thank you guys so much for being here on the Voices of Verra podcast. Another shout out to Dylan. I said Dylan. Holy crap. Take two. Thank you for being here on the Voices of Verra podcast. Thank you guys so much for being here. Shout out to Zillan. We said this last
Yes.
stream, but Zillan a long time ago did a podcast with the exact name. So I'll tell the story again. Me and Else was in chat. Else, what was the joke you said? Nice, be nice or else.
Be nice or else. That was my podcast. I still stand by that. That's a good name. So
Be nice or else was gonna be the podcast name, and I was like, dude, all right, I'm a dad joker. I love puns, but I was like, come on, like we got to think about search and marketability here. And I was like, all right, what was there was one I thought of before Voices of Verra. It was one, I can't remember. But anyways, I was like, alliteration. People love alliteration. We need something with either talk, so it needs to have like a T in it, or we need something with V for voices. And I was like, wait, the name of the place is Verra, is Voices of Verra. So we did it. I made a thumbnail, and then I did a Google search of it just to see like anything there. And literally, one of Zillan's like old videos popped up. I was like, holy crap. But yeah, so shout out to him. Make sure you sub to him. He does Ash's content as well. So yeah. But once again, thank you to Sawman. Is there no one else? We're gonna try to do this every Tuesday. Pending anything coming up, maybe we do random different thing. But the plan is to do Tuesdays Asher streams. I'll still be doing like ESO streams on Thursdays. Tuesdays I like to keep something else 99 times out of 100 Ashes of Creation. We'll do the podcast here. So else pass it to you.
yeah, it's we've been finding a lot of content, and I think once Nodes ramps up, like we're gonna have obviously a lot to talk about there. The UI stuff, like unless we find good conversations or whatever, like we won't cover that stuff too in depth, because like how can you have a podcast talking about like, oh, how pretty is this UI? I don't know. Maybe other people like that, but for me, I just find that so. I don't care. I guess is the best way to put it. Yeah, it's just whatever. But anyways, so yeah, we wanna cover the big stuff. We want to continue to do this, and obviously, like once we get into Alpha 2, I'll be doing a lot of testing, and a lot of the stuff that I really want to do, I'll be sharing with people, and different classes and how things function, and figuring out the combat mechanics and stuff like that. That's the stuff that really gets me excited. And so
We're gonna do a lot of dueling.
Yeah, lots of dueling, lots of group v group stuff, just trying to figure out different balance and stuff. And so yeah, the more people we know that want to do stuff like that, the easier it will be to coordinate and get information. So I think that'd be a good resource for the community. So
yeah, I look forward to just big test streams. Like, hey, if you're a chat, come over here. We're at area XYZ on this server.
Yeah,
We want to see what happens when this person attacks this, or does this get you corrupted, or how strong is this AoE? Just those are gonna be some fun streams I look forward to. So Solomon.
Stephen, if you're watching this, I am still without an Alpha 2 key. So if you can gift me one, that'd be greatly appreciated. I know it's a long shot, but it's worth a try.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
Exactly.
GoFundMe UK.
Nah, thanks for having me on, guys. It's fun. Probably gonna miss the next one, and the one after that, and the one after that, because I mean it's 3 a.m. for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I get it.
Oh damn. 3 a.m.
But they're fun to watch. I have been enjoying watching them the next day when I'm at work. So keep up the good work.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, we maybe we'll have to adjust the date to be a little bit better in the future. So
yeah, do a random early weekend or something.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you everybody that was in our chats. Appreciate you guys being here. And on that note, we are going to end it. See you guys on Voices of Verra, episode 4. Peace. Wait, 4, right? 4?
Yeah, 4 will be the next one.
This is episode 3. Yeah.
Yeah. 4 after 3. Can I get confirmation in chat? No.
Quick maths.
All right. Peace. Good stuff.
All right, I'm gonna hang out just a little bit longer, guys, because I feel bad not answering any questions because we just got talking about things. So I'm gonna quick scroll back. I'm gonna scroll through some of the stuff you guys said, and just provide comments, and then we'll call it. So, I like the look of the cleric. No real smart healing. Looks like it's going to take some skill to do and not just be a one-button heal to full kind of game. Healing so overpowered in ESO and New World right now, it would be a breath of fresh air seeing healing be more skill-based. It's from Mad Hatton earlier on in the stream. I completely agree. I think I've said it in other videos on my channel and everything. I think I think oftentimes like what some developers do is they use the support class as a way to allow groups to finish content. So they buff healing, over buff healing, or over buff the tank's ability to aggro a bunch of things. And it basically just like, it's the slapstick way to like, hey, this is how we're going to complete content. Instead of making it engaging, we're just going to make it easier. And what happens is what you have specifically in New World and ESO is currently cross healing and healing in general is so powerful. You'll see groups running resto staff back bar across the board because it just boosts your survival through the roof. And really high time to kill makes games a lot less enjoyable from my perspective. Like there's a lot of encounters in both those games where you just don't kill other people because the healing is too powerful. And so I love for those adjustments to be made in those games as well. And it's nice to see with the cleric, the burst heal isn't automatically bursting people back to full. Like yeah. And so I completely agree with that. We don't know how Intrepid is making the skills, but in my opinion, the different skills are multi-use. Like the base cleric can be X different flavors, and then when you add augments, they really get fleshed out from Insanity Defined. Okay. Yeah, I have no idea. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. People used to worry about one healing archetype, and now they're worried about too many abilities and no theme. They don't have any understanding of the skill point system and how players will build their own style. Yeah, I think style is very important. I think builds and play style is very, very important in a game. You want to give players the ability to play different ways. And oftentimes, like in MMOs with different builds, people just run whatever's best. And as long as you make other things competitive, yes, there will still be a meta and people will still run what's best, but then people might make choices off of individually what's best for them or what they enjoy. And as long as it's competitive, you'll see that uniqueness really shine through in a game. And so when that doesn't shine through is when there's clear cut, some skills are better than others, and you see everybody running the exact same thing. So yeah, I completely agree with that. Matt says no smart healing, no easy I win button like Sacred Ground and New World make them actually play the game. Yeah, exactly. Combo healing that you have to aim, make it very active. When support builds are too strong, you get ESO. Yeah. I like powerful support classes. Powerful support classes played well should be powerful. And yeah, it shouldn't be like, hey, you got a resto staff, now you're the best healer in the game. And even if you're not the best healer in the game, like you're 90% of the best healer in the game. I don't think that's the best way to go about doing things. So Cyber Psycho says I'm going to be trying to make a melee healer DPS hybrid if it's possible with augments. Yeah, that'd be really cool. Like I really want to see like the offensive kit of the cleric fleshed out. And if not, like what other augments can you do to flesh out, you know, like how can you make that happen? So very excited to see what happens with that. It's not my like number one play style, but I do enjoy playing that, like just a stand your ground, little bit of everything, kind of jack of all trades. But because I'm a jack of all trades, I can hold my own. I think that's cool. Really hope the augments will give me the option to tank at least a small dungeon, but also survive if I can't tank. Yeah. We got talking about caravans. Matt Haddon says, my biggest hope is we'll be able to counter numbers, so huge guilds can't just shit on us with numbers. It'll be a huge counter to large guilds hoarding the strongholds if they can't get any of their stuff out of there because their caravans are constantly getting taken. Yeah. Class effectiveness and class buffs, I think, really opens the chance for smaller, more coordinated groups to potentially fight and kill larger, less coordinated groups. And I don't know if that's going to be the case. Like, bigger groups should have the advantage of being bigger. But small groups should have a chance if they play well. Like if they play well, if they activate in certain buffs and synergies in certain ways, they should have a chance. And I think that's going to be interesting to see what happens. So, game where good PvPers are going to be extremely valuable sounds so awesome to me. I just want to be appreciated. Yeah, it's just fun. It's fun having an avenue for gold creation, potentially being PvP related. Like other ways, you make and you sell goods. So crafters, artisan people, they'll make goods. Different traders, they'll make their money off of buying more rare things and flipping them in a different area, knowing that they'll make money in a certain area. And PvPers can potentially make gold off of, looting and caravans. So I like the idea of having more opportunities for that. So. Is there a release date yet? No, there's not. There is not a release date for Ashes yet. I think a lot of people tentatively think that Alpha 2 will be dropping within the next year. It's just a theory. Nobody has said anything. There's been no official announcement. I think my speculation is early to mid 2024 is when Alpha 2 is going to come out. That's pure speculation, talking out of my ass, tinfoil hat theory. Hope. so yeah, once that happens, then people that have access to the Alpha 2 key, they can play basically until the game goes live. And so that's just what I'm hoping for. So yeah, there won't be full-time PvP, but I'll have plenty of time to test and play different things and figure stuff out. And I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, Captain Crunch, what's going on, man? Rocky Road, good to see you. I know you commented when we were in another stream, so it's good that you found it over here. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll continue to cover content on my channel regarding Ashes and stuff, and as things progress. But these things have been fun, and yeah, I'll try to do more of this in the future. Can't always get to every question. It just depends on how the discussion goes. But I want to make sure I'm responding to people. So I'll try and do this more often. But yeah, if nobody has anything else, I'll end the stream here, and we'll catch you next Tuesday. All right, I'll see you guys on Tuesday. So we'll have more stuff then, and we'll talk about it then. Take care, guys. Have a nice night.